Hello and welcome to the FAB-Racing British Mountain Championship. We're here at Whilton Mill and we're in the paddock right now, and well, my name is Lewis Ray and alongside me this weekend is Ross McIntyre. How are you, Ross?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Lewis. Great to be back here for round 5 of the FAB-Racing British Minibike Championship. Sun has unfortunately gone away, a little bit of rain on the horizon as well, but hasn't dampened the spirits nonetheless. As you said, here in the paddock we're going to do some walking, some talking, just get some of the some aspects from some of the riders, see how we're feeling looking into the weekend.
Yeah, as you said, although conditions are not the best, it's not dampened the spirits, and well, let's go speak to some riders and see what their thoughts are about the weekend. And well, perfect place to start actually is in Noah Gilroy's tent, so let's have a word with Noah. Noah, obviously it's round 5 now at FAB, we're here at Whilton Mill. How are you feeling towards the weekend?
I'm feeling pretty confident, to be honest, but in the wet, the main thing is just try to stay on the bike, especially around at Christmas corner.
Yeah, and obviously about the wet conditions, last round it was wet. How did you find the conditions out there?
I found it pretty good, to be honest. It was actually really grippy compared to what the other riders were saying.
And well, obviously you've done the practice session so far, and you've done practice yesterday. How are you finding the circuit? Because obviously we weren't here last year.
Yeah, this is my local circuit, but I haven't been here in a year. But it's really good. I like the circuit. It's nice, tight and twisty, and there's a lot of overtaking opportunities here.
Yeah, and obviously it's tight and twisty, and you're here on the 70. What is your main objective? Is it the 70 race, or are you looking towards the Extreme 200s?
I'm looking towards the Extreme 200s. 70 is just for the practice and just to find my main goals and try and get faster lap times. And in the 200s, I'm just trying to keep up with all the fast riders.
Yeah, and well, as I mentioned at the start, it's round 5, and now we're over halfway in the season. Are you starting to look towards a championship position that you're aiming for?
Yeah, I want to try and get second in the championship altogether. Right now I'm in 4th, and I just want to try and get my points back up because I was in second in the championship by the second round.
Yeah, and well, good luck for this weekend, and hopefully it stays dry for you.
Thank you.
Right, and well, so that was Noah Gilroy, and now we're just going to keep walking about the paddock. Rain's now spitting. Ross, how much of a challenge is this going to be for the riders this weekend?
Oh, it's going to be a huge challenge. I mean, Whilton Mill is not the grippiest circuit in the dry anyway. We've had from multiple drivers a few spots of rain. It's like an absolute ice rink out there. It's bumpy, it's fast, it's aggressive, and it's really somewhere you don't want to be fighting your bike in the wet. And the problem is, tomorrow, Sunday, it is scheduled to rain all day. Last time we were here at Wilton, rained all day Saturday, and well, you can go back on the FAB-Racing channel, you can watch those races back, and it was absolutely soaking. So we're going to have to wait and see how the riders are going to be able to compete in those conditions, but it's going to be tough out there.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now we're in Finlay Polhill's garage, and yeah, is Finlay about to have a word?
Huh?
Is Finlay about to have a word?
Oh, it's lovely out here. Harry, do you want to go and grab it?
Yeah, so we're just waiting on Finlay Polhill to have a word to, and obviously Finlay Polhill, he's had quite an up and down season. He's had an injury, had a little break, and obviously it's maybe wet, so how will he be looking towards this weekend?
I think we'll be pretty excited. We did speak to him yesterday. He seemed in good spirits. He's a good young lad. Everyone in here with Fab is really, really nice. Everyone's lovely, real family community. Finn is right in there, and he's one of the finest individuals you'll meet, and he's a really mature rider as well. I think we'll be looking to have a very strong round out there this weekend.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Finlay's with us now. So Finlay, how are you looking towards the weekend?
Brilliant. I got topped the warm-up session, and it's going all right this weekend so far.
And well, spits are in the air. Do you want it to rain this weekend, or would you rather it stay dry?
I'd much rather it stay dry at this track. It's definitely one of the slippier runs.
Yeah, and well, talking about rain, last round it was wet. How did you find the conditions?
Well, I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, and actually, how is your recovery going on your arm?
Yeah, it's going fine. It's just exercises every day and getting it better for racing.
So are you still getting any pain on the bike, or is it at the point now where you can't notice it?
I can go with it now. There's not much pain at all. And yeah, that's probably it.
And well, how are you finding the metric this year? Are you enjoying it? How are you finding the gears and all the technicalities with the bike?
Yeah, it's going all right. Got a little bit more to learn, and yeah, keep practicing at it and see how I can do next year.
Yeah, and well, hopefully it stays dry for you, and good luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
So it's a busy paddock right now. There's riders absolutely everywhere. So let's keep moving on. And yeah, now it's at the point of the season where people need to start thinking about championship points. So is it at the point now where we might see some championship contenders just try to get finishes on the board?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously over the halfway point now in the championship, round 5 of 8 here at Whilton Mill. It's now going to start to get to the point where if you're in a close championship battle, maybe, especially with the younger riders, that they're usually going to try and push through. And now they're going to have people tell them, listen, you've got a championship on the line here. Let's calm it down. Let's just try and get those race finishes, those race points. Ultimately, it's better to finish second than go first and end up on the deck. So it's all about just racing smart, still racing hard, but just finishing consistently and having some good results.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it's so tricky at the circuit, as we mentioned. It's one of those circuits, as soon as it gets wet and gets a tiny bit of moisture on the circuit, it's just like an ice rink. We've heard from many riders that it's awful to race in the rain.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a circuit that hasn't been resurfaced in a long time. Very bumpy. Lots of joins in the tarmac and really tough places. Coming into the boot section around the back end of the lap, it's just there's basically lines and holes all over the tarmac. It is really tough for the riders. So you've got to just really get your head down, keep the bike as settled as you can through the corners, and essentially it's try not to fall on the dirt. It's almost a race of attrition more than anything out there for all 3 races, and especially when the rain comes down tomorrow, it is going to be tough.
Yeah, it certainly is. And obviously FAB-Racing is a championship which attracts riders of many ages, so let's have a speak to some of the older riders and a bit more experienced riders than what we're used to here at FAB. So why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you're racing?
Vinnie Jones, 200cc class, first time here.
Well, it's first time here. How you find the circuit?
I've been to this circuit before, first time with FAB. A bit scary with the changing weather, but no, it's good all so far today.
So I'm guessing that you're hoping with the conditions that it's going to stay dry today.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
And it's your first time here at FAB. How are you finding the paddock?
Yeah, it's lovely, very welcoming. Yeah, good.
And how long have you been racing yourself?
4 years, I think.
So in these 4 years, it's been predominantly other championships. So have you got any experience that you can gather here at FAB and use to your advantage?
No, just extra track time. That's all I'm going for this weekend. And
so
try and bring it home.
Yeah. So have you got any aims at all, or is it just get home?
Literally just stay on the bike. That's it. Just a bit of practice.
Fair enough. And good luck for this weekend, and hopefully it's dry for you.
Cheers, Sip.
So pit bikes are just in after their session now, so some of the riders will be able to get first-hand experience of what the track is like itself and what conditions are like out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've just got started with our qualifying sessions, actually. So that was the first qualifying session of the weekend. So this is really kind of riders now starting to lay down the gauntlet. We've seen in practice a few kind of riders pushing here and there, kind of the names you'd expect to be running up the front. But now it's about, just trying to push as, again, just coming in from their session. So a lot of bikes flying around the paddock. I believe it's some of the mini motors heading out in just a short moment's time. And of course, a few qualifying sessions to look forward to. So it's not all doom and gloom if it doesn't quite go your way straight away. And again, because the track surface is so old, the conditions are so changeable in this part of the country. The track, it can change almost from session to session. I mean, the temperature drops a few degrees. It's like you're on a completely different circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is. And there's some of the riders coming in ecstatic about their session. So let's have a speak to some of the younger riders here. Hi, guys. So why don't you tell everyone what your name is and what class you're racing?
My name's Kylan and I'm racing in the rookies.
And how are you finding the track this weekend?
It's really grippy and I feel like I have loads of control over it.
And are you wanting it to be dry this weekend?
Yeah.
Have you raced in the wet before?
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Good, and my dad just said, just don't put your knee down and ride really smooth.
And have you got any aim for this weekend? On what position you want to finish in?
I really want to finish in 3rd or 4th.
So hopefully a podium.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay.
And let's just squeeze over here to go talk to the young chap sitting next to you. So why don't you tell everyone what your name is and what class you're racing?
Jensen and I race in the rookies.
How are you finding FAB so far this season?
Easy.
Easy? And have you got any aims for this weekend?
No.
So just go out and see what happens.
Okay.
What's been your favourite track so far?
The Wales one.
Quandau in Wales. Well, obviously we go back there next round, so hopefully you'll be looking forward to it then.
Thanks.
And are you just planning on just getting round, getting some finishes this weekend, obviously, because it is meant to rain?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the rain?
No.
Why is that?
Because loads of people fall off, especially me.
Yeah, it's very easy to fall off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, good luck this weekend, and hopefully you get the finishes on the board.
Thanks.
So obviously, younger riders here at FAB, a massive part of our paddock. So let's have a look. Actually, let's talk to some of the riders that have just came in on their session and find out how exactly the track conditions are at the current moment, and if the rain that has slightly fallen, if it's affected it at all. So let's have a little word to Jack Andrews over here, who's just came in off the 140 session. So Jack, how was the track?
I haven't been out yet this morning.
You haven't been out? Why is that?
I was on quali practice this morning. That was about it. It was a little bit slippery, but not too bad.
How are you finding the track so far this weekend then?
Yeah, it's been good. Yesterday it was sunny and warm, so it was good and grippy, but this morning it's been a little bit green and quite slippery, so I think we're just going to change the fronts, make a little bit softer compounds and go from there, really.
So, well, obviously it's spitting in the paddock right now. Are you wanting it maybe just the heavens to open slightly like it did last round?
No, not really. It's quite slippery here. It's not as good as clay. Clay's very grippy in the wet, but here it's not very grippy at all. So more dry tarmac, the better really for us.
So you're racing obviously in the 140 and the Moto Team class. Have you got one that's maybe your priority for this season and this weekend?
This is extreme bike, but we're more on the Moto Team this year for us. Last year I won the Extreme Championship, so this year I would like to win the Moto Team Championship, so that's what we're going for.
So just straight out championship victories this year?
Yeah, trying to, but it's not as easy as that, as we all know. We've had some goods and we've had some bads this year as it's racing, but yeah, really, just sort of try and win the championship. That's what we're aiming for.
So, well, we're here at round 5. Is it just getting points on the board now and not making any stupid mistakes at this point in the season? Yeah. Or is it just still trying to get them podiums and race victories?
Yeah, exactly that. Just try and get as many points on the board as possible, so when it comes to the last rounds and that, where it's tight, that's where we sort of push a little bit harder and try and get the points, but that's all we've got to try and do, to get the points on the board.
Yeah, and well, in the Extreme 200s this weekend, you do have some tough competition with Sullivan Mincy returning, Eddie O'Shea. How do you think you're going to match them?
I think they're going to fly past, but hopefully they all battle each other and take each other out and take the win from there.
Well, good luck for this weekend, Jack.
Love you, John. Thank you.
Well, that's more riders that we spoke to. Obviously, Jack Andrews, as he said, not out last session, so Ross, I'll hand over to you and I'll let you have a word with a couple of people around the paddock.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's carry on a wander in this general direction, shall we? I mean, again, the cloud cover coming over as we head through. Quite a big paddock here at Whilton Mill, of course, Lewis, a very big paddock always here in FAB, a real family of people that can continuously show up. And again, you know, that's a real highlight here, isn't it? Is, you know, everyone turns up, everyone gets along and has a great weekend together.
Yeah, it certainly is. You just see it every single round. Everyone at FAB is just like one big family. They're all supporting each other, and well, they're all just here to have a good weekend because they all love racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's see if we can grab a word with Sully, if he's up to it. I can see he's just putting his suit on. We can try and grab him. Anyway, Sully, you up for a word for a quick second? Are you just about to head out, or? Yeah. Right, we'll get in the moment kind of word. So just talk us through getting ready for your first qualifying session. How are you feeling?
Yeah, a bit ishy because the track was quite slippy, but it's alright. I think I'm going to be able to cope with it, but it's alright. I think this track's not the grippiest in the wet, but it has been called the slippery mill since I ever started in 2016 here, but I'm kind of learning the way around and it's not as bad as it used to be, so I'm just getting used to grip. But spoke to Luke Fitchett, one of the riders that I'm helping out, and he's staying at his, and he's just given me a couple tips about the track, which has helped me out switch up to prepare for this session. But yeah, it's going to be a good session. I'm just going to go out there and have a little bit of fun.
Awesome stuff. So what are you hoping for this weekend then? Maybe a few wins, just try and stay on the bike in the wet maybe, or just out there having some fun, getting some track time?
Yeah, it's quite hard for this bike because it's 17-inch wheels, but I think I might be able to keep up with them. I just have to a little bit more backing in, a little bit harder braking, but hopefully I'll be able to stay at the front with Bailey and just battle for the win.
Awesome, thanks so much and best luck out there.
Thank you guys.
Well, there we go. Sullivan Mounties, we try and slide through the horde of parents and tables and whatnot. Of course, Sullivan, one of our young riders who returned after going off to pastures new in the British Talent Cup. Of course, as you're well aware, Lewis, the British Talent Cup, FAB-Racing is the place to be if you want to make your way up and, you know, progress further into motorcycle racing.
Yeah, it certainly is. We've seen it year after year at FAB, riders moving on to the British Talent Cup, and it's a thing that's really keeps happening, and it's getting more and more riders every single season moving on to the better and bigger things, which is what we love to see. And then the riders returning, such as Sullivan, and able to pass on that knowledge to younger riders. So it's just a great showing of the family community that we have here at FAB.
Well, I think we keep running into people who are just about to head out. Are you guys just about to head out, or have we got chance for a quick few words then? Well, we keep running into Extreme 200 riders, it seems, but why don't you run us through some of the Extreme 200 class? Because I know some of our viewers at home maybe not so familiar. It's a bit of a weird one. It's essentially pit bikes, but better.
Yeah, it's just obviously more of like so you can have CRF 150s, more of the bigger powered bikes. But yeah, I'm just running a standard 140, so yeah.
And what's your plan for the weekend then? Just get out there, win some races, dominate, do all that?
Oh yeah, try our best. Obviously, it's just standard, so it's a bit slower, but yeah, we'll try our best.
Awesome, good luck out there.
Thank you.
Right then, Rossi Banham, championship leader. How are you feeling? Looking forward to this one?
I'm feeling good. Just, I don't know.
You don't know? Is it everything all right, or something wrong with the bike, or?
That one had a problem. It just breathing too much. This one's just fine.
Well, fair enough. So what's your plan then? Go win some more races?
I hope so.
Awesome. Well, good luck out there.
Thank you.
So then, Ethan Sparks, getting into the second half of the season. How are you feeling looking into Whilton Mill?
I'm feeling good. I'm having a bit of brake problems so far, but I think that'll be fixed for tomorrow. And the surface is a bit slippery, but I think it should be fine if it's warm.
That's great. And I know you've had some success here in the past. Last time we came, obviously, took some good results. You're looking to emulate that?
Yeah, hopefully I can extend my lead in the championship so I can get my second 70 win.
And on the subject of good results, just been told that you passed a good stat last time. There were 50 race wins here at FAB-Racing. That's pretty impressive, so congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And focusing on the champ as well, just focusing on the future. Obviously, getting into the second half, getting into the latter stages, is your plan just get some good results in, get some consistent results in, really kind of stamp your authority and get that second championship.
Yeah, hopefully I can just keep the lead in the championship or extending it, or just finishing a place behind Ronnie, just so I can keep those few points ahead of him.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ethan, and best of luck out there.
Thank you.
Well then, here with Archie O'Brien, one of FAB-Racing's hottest young superstars. And Archie, back here at Whilton Mill, the track where you took your first victory in FAB-Racing. How's it feel to be back?
It feels pretty exciting, as we haven't ridden here in a long time, and it should be a good opportunity.
And as you said, haven't ridden here in a long time, been a fair few years. Of course, it was raining last time we were here. It looks like it's set to rain this weekend as well. Is that a exciting prospect for you?
Well, it depends on really how much rain there is, because if it's a heavy downpour, the track's okay, but if it's just a little sprinkle, the track goes really greasy.
And how do you think your season's gone so far? You've had some pretty strong results, getting onto that Metric Mini GP 50 for the first time, getting onto that 70 as well recently. How do you think it's going so far?
I think it's been a pretty good practice season, and obviously taking a lap record last time out at Clay, we're really pleased with how it's going.
And looking forward to the future, I assume, just kind of get more laps in on the bike, and then maybe next year challenge for some titles?
Yeah, hopefully that's the plan.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Archie, and best of luck out there this weekend.
Thank you.
Oliver Hall, How are you?
Good. You?
Yeah, I'm all right, thank you. So, how are you feeling then? Round 5, Whilton Mill. It's quite warm today, but probably going to rain this weekend at some point.
I don't want it to rain because then at Whilton Mill this is so slippy when it rains. And when it rains, everyone comes off like 10 times in one race.
Well, obviously creates a bit of excitement, I suppose. But you're going out there once again on your mini motor. You've got your big bike next to you as well. How are you feeling? Which one are you more excited to head out onto?
The Metro Kit, but I like the Mini and the Metro Kit the same basically because they're both as fun.
And what's the difference between riding the mini moto and the Metro Kit? Because I mean, obviously, one's a lot bigger than the other, but it's not just a bigger bike, is it?
It's got much more gears and clutch. It's harder to handle when you're going around a corner. You can't just whack the throttle on. Because on this it would just be a little bit hard to keep up. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Oliver, and best of luck out there this weekend on both your bikes.
Thank you.
Harrison, how are you feeling?
Good.
Just good?
Yeah.
How are you feeling looking into the racing this weekend?
I've only been here once, so just learning the track.
That's fair enough. Is it a good track? Do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
It's very fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might rain this weekend. Are you ready to conquer it in the rain?
Hopefully.
That's great to hear. And how's life treating you generally? How's things going?
Good.
Everything okay in your life? Everything good at home? Parents okay?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say to the wonderful viewers at home?
Thank you to everyone that helped me.
Well, that's a very nice message, isn't it? Thank you very much for joining us. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Come on then, Finn. Come on. See, you're a little bit taller, so it's nicer because I don't have to crouch down as much. But Finn, how are you feeling then?
Better than I was, that's for sure. My arm fixed.
Yeah, obviously, good to see that, here and not in a cast and in hospital and whatnot. Obviously it's, one of the first times back out on the bike. So is this more just to kind of get back onto it, make sure everything's okay kind of race for you?
Yeah, it's a bit like that. I just want to get back to where I was, really.
That's great to hear. And of course, coming into the latter end of the season as well, probably not the best time to get an injury in the world, but, you're back on the bike. That's the main thing. Do you think you want to just kind of up the performances so when you come in for the last few rounds, ready to start winning races again?
Yeah, that's probably the plan.
Awesome stuff. And again, here at Whilton Mill, is this a track you enjoy?
It's all right. I don't really like the bumps. It's not my favourite, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is very bumpy around there. Do you think that can sometimes cause a bit of an upset for some of the riders out there because it can really play some harm on your bike?
Yeah, it's really difficult when racing around here with all the bumps. It's hard to overtake.
Well, best of luck out there, and great to see you back here.
Thanks.
So then, Sam, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm getting used to the bike a bit more now, so I feel a lot more comfortable.
That's awesome to hear. And you're ready to go out and absolutely smash everyone up here at Whilton?
Hopefully, yeah.
And it's very, very warm in this tent right now. I'm not sure how you're in a long sleeve, but it's going to be a warm all weekend, even with the weather perhaps not looking so good. Do you think that's going to play into your hands, maybe?
With the rain, I know that this track's quite slippy, which I'm a bit scared about, but hopefully it doesn't rain, so yeah.
Well, a bit scared. That's quite interesting because, most of the riders like to pretend they're absolutely fearless. And, do you think, I know quite a tough question to ask, but do you think sometimes that actually the fear factor does come into play sometimes when it rains?
Yeah, because a lot of the tracks are actually quite slippy, so it's really frightening because you feel like you're going to hurt a part of you.
Well, that was a very mature response to a very serious question. Thank you very much out there, and I'm sure you won't get hurt, so don't be worried. It might be a bit slippy, but it's pretty safe out there. So thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Austin Johnson, you've been having a pretty strong season so far. Now we're at the halfway point, round 5. How are you feeling looking into it?
I'm doing all right. Hoping to get some more podiums. Trying not to crash like I did in that first practice, but yeah.
Well, that's always the aim of the game, is to stay on your two wheels, isn't it? But as I said, you've had a very, very strong season so far. A lot of podiums, a lot of race wins. You're doing very well in your championship standings. Do you think this is something you can take forward into the future?
Maybe. I'm not very good at riding bigger bikes. I'll say that.
Well, I suppose you got to train, isn't it? Isn't that part of the game? You got to train on the bigger bikes over the winter.
Yeah, but yeah.
And on the subject of the winter, what's the plan for you in the future? What's the plan next year and moving on? Still going to be hanging around here at FAB?
Yeah, I'll move up into the 50s and maybe practice in the 70s.
Awesome stuff. Can't wait for it. Thank you very much, Austin, and best of luck.
Thank you.
So now time to chat, or hopefully chat to a few future superstars and some FAB garages. All right, boys, any chance for a quick chat from any of you? Go on then. Start over here. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
And welcome back. First of all, glad to have you here. How are you enjoying the weekend so far?
Well, I've only just arrived. I'm going out for my first session in a minute. I just got to enjoy it. Just have fun with my mates.
That's fair enough. And Whilton Mill probably could have picked a bit less of a bumpy track to come to, but it's looking like it's going to be a bit wet out there this weekend as well. So perhaps not the best conditions, but you're looking forward to it anyway.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it all. It's just training towards the MotoGP next weekend. I'm just looking to get some extra track time and hopefully it just pay off on the weekend.
Brilliant stuff. Let's move on. Thank you very much for talking to us. Let's go with Eddie, shall we? Welcome back as well. Good to have you here. How are you feeling? Looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good, thank you. It's always nice to come back to the roots and obviously train on the smaller bikes and on the smaller tracks. But yeah, it's great fun.
And on that subject, maybe some of the viewers not quite sure what the difference is between what you guys are doing nowadays and what we're seeing here. So how different is it for you, coming over from your British Talent Cup, Red Bull rookies and whatever else you're doing nowadays to coming back onto like a little kart circuit? It's obviously quite a bit of a jump.
Well, obviously the Moto 3s are a completely different breed of bike, so you come back on these but a few years ago these bikes were rapid, and obviously coming back from a faster bike back onto this, you just have to rag it and try and get the most out of it. So to come back onto this karting track is so much fun, and you have to try and get the most out of every little horsepower.
And is the plan for you the same as everyone else then? Just come back, have some fun with your mates, a little bit of track time as well?
Yeah, that's about it. Just come and have some fun, and obviously so get some bum time on the seat.
And you've had a pretty good season so far overall as well. What's your plans for the future moving forward from the Red Bull rookies and everything that you're doing? You're doing all right. You're looking to move on up.
Yeah, of course. I'm definitely looking to move on to the Moto 3 Championship in a few years' time. I'm not old enough until I'm 18, and I'm currently 15, so I've still got 3 more years in what I can do before I go up to Moto 3. So. The plan for next year is to do the same again, but I've not signed any contracts. I've not really got any offers. So we can just keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best.
So watch this space then. Thanks so much, Eddie.
Thank you very much.
Let's grab Harrison as well if he's down for a chat. Come on. Yeah, welcome back as well. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. Glad to be back, just enjoying it with my mates, and yeah, obviously nice to be back on a bike. Just enjoying it. Obviously trying to go as fast as I can. But it's good fun.
And of course, coming in high spirits after your podium last weekend as well. Just looking for a bit of fun. Might rain this weekend though. Maybe dampen your spirits.
To be fair, I wouldn't mind a bit of rain because I've not been too confident in it recently. So to get a bit of practice in the wet, I wouldn't mind. Yeah, just here to enjoy myself. So whatever the weather, really.
I'll ask you the same question I asked Eddie. What's your plans for the future then, moving forward as well? Now that you're back at the roots, let's look forward as well.
Looking forward, we're looking to hop onto a 600, whether that be in Stock 6, Supersport, GP2, or somewhere in Europe. Not sure yet, but I'd like to get over onto one of the even bigger bikes because we've been doing a bit of training on it now, and it's been going really well. So yeah, that's what I'd look to do in the future, but we'll see where it takes us.
Have to wait and see. Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, Hello and welcome to Sunday here at FAB-Racing. My name is Ross McIntyre. Alongside me is Lewis Ray, and you join us from what we thought was going to be a very, very wet Whilton Mill. It's actually a very, very cloudy Whilton Mill, and we've got no idea what the weather is going to do. Join us just in time for some of the warm-up sessions. As you see, there's some of the mini GP70s getting ready to head out the last session before the racing. And Lewis, well, we had a great day's worth of racing yesterday. Weather hasn't quite come into play just yet as we expected it would, but that's not going to take away from the excitement of these race 2 and 3s that we've got to look forward to.
Yeah, it certainly is, and the weather has been kind to us today. I would say we woke up this morning and the ground was wet, and now luckily it looks like it's drying out, so it looks like when the races actually get underway later on, it looks like we should be able to get some dry running, which we didn't expect to have today.
Yeah, absolutely. The weather yesterday was saying that it was going to be raining all day. We've got to the track. It's rained a little bit this morning. Looks set to rain a little bit over the lunchtime period. And then that's it. It's going to be dry. So not as wet as we were expecting, and potentially could be a bit greasy. It was, we went out on the track this morning. It was a little bit wet, so we'll have to see what the weather's going to be. But hello and welcome wherever you may be joining us around the world. Make sure that you are liking, sharing, subscribing, and all of that to the FAB-Racing and Motorsport Radio YouTube social media channels. It really does help everyone out here at FAB-Racing, and it's our pleasure to bring you all of this action from Sunday here at round 5 of the FAB-Racing British Mini Bike Championship at Whilton Mill. And as just said, just waiting for the final morning warm-up sessions to come to an end before we head out for the day's racing. Of course, the Pit Bike 140s there. Race 2 is the first race that we've got to look forward to today. Lots of big names here at Whilton Mill to look forward to in that Pit Bike race. I mean, of course, as always in Fab, you get the odd rider from British Talent Cup, BSB and beyond coming back, having some time with their mates, also getting a bit of track time. But this weekend, it seems like we've brought every single superstar that has graduated from Fab and has gone on to do big things. They're all here at Whilton and all giving us a fantastic display.
Yeah, they certainly are, and it's great to see the talent really that Fab's produced coming back here and then being able to help the younger riders develop themselves, because Fab, it's such a family atmosphere that we have here, and it's one that's great to see, because you see all these younger riders being able to help each other, and then the older riders also being able to help the younger riders. So yeah, it's great to have, and it's great to see so many young talents being able to look up to these superstars and see what they've achieved, and then almost believe in themselves and believe in their own ability that they can get there too. But yeah, today's racing, it's 2 races for each class. There's a lot of racing to get through today, and it should be very, very exciting stuff if we go by what we've seen yesterday, because yesterday in the Pit Bike 140s, just to start off with it being the first race today, it was coast racing, and wow, what a big field we have here. We have about 35 bikes in the Pit Bike 140 class, which is just insane numbers, to be honest. Rossi Banham obviously dominated that race by over 8 seconds at the line, so I think everyone today is going to be coming back stronger and coming back to the drawing board to see if they can finally catch up to Rossi. Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Rossi, the reigning vice champion from last year, he's been the dominant force so far in this season of the Pit Bike 140 category. Of course, the junior superstock rider putting on a fantastic display as always, and really showing us the talent that he's got, and just putting on a brilliant performance yesterday. But of course, conditions are a little bit different. It's not raining now, and it looks like it's not set to heavily rain as we expected, but the rain has still come down overnight. There was still a little bit of rain this morning as well. The track is very, very different, and as we were saying all day yesterday here at Whilton, it is a very, very old track surface. It hasn't been resurfaced in a long, long time, and it is very, very temperamental. Even the slightest change in the weather leads to different track completely. We're seeing here in the warm-ups the times massively down. Most of the riders out there on wet tyres, on the wet bikes. So we're going to have to see what happens. Obviously the pit bike's the first kind of category that's going to be racing out there in anger with this different track from yesterday. So we're going to have to see what happens as we go out there. But as just mentioned, as we wait for the LS2 helmets Mini GP70 British Championship warm-up to come to the end, of course, the top category for junior riders that we run here before many of them go on to the British Talent Cup. Of course, here at FAB-Racing, we are the official partner series of the Bennett's British Superbike Championship and on the Dorna Road to Moto GP programme. And many young superstars in the category going on to be the next big thing in British motorcycle racing. Well, the race yesterday, Lewis,
a very, very close fight indeed at the front. You know, we had Ethan Sparks, championship leader and reigning champion, facing fierce attacks from Marco Holt, and you know, a few other riders getting involved as well. And Holt, you know, he looked to be the faster rider at some stages of the race, but just couldn't quite make the gap appear. Sparks held firm, took yet another victory this season, but Marco Holt, you know, a lot of talent, you know, and you know, this is his first season on the 70s as well. It's very, very close racing out there.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was a freeway battle all the way throughout the race. Obviously, Blake Wilson was there in third place, and he just managed to hold with them and be able to maintain the gap. And you can see some of the riders there watching on this final warm-up session. But yeah, it was a great race all the way through, and it was one that we expect to see in the Mini GP 70s, because all the way throughout the season there's been quite a few races which is pretty similar actually to the likes of a Moto 3 race. We just cannot break away from a pack. But obviously today there'll be a lot of riders trying the hardest to catch up to the front three, such as Luke Fitchett, obviously, which did end up winning the Mini GP 50 race himself. So Luke Fitchett definitely one to look out for, because we know throughout the past couple of races and the past couple of rounds he's great at defending. So if Luke Fitchett can just manage to get away past someone on this Whilton Mill circuit, which we already know is quite tricky to overtake at, he's definitely going to make life difficult for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Flat cap Luke, as we like to call him. You know, he's an absolute beast when he gets in front of other riders. You will not find a way past him at all. Brick wall, moving chicane, call him what you will. Yeah, he is probably one of the finest defenders that you will find here in FAB-Racing, and an absolute maestro at it, and at such young age as well. It is really spectacular to see. So if you're just joining us, hello and welcome. Don't worry, you've not missed any of the action yet. This is just the end of the final warm-up session before we get racing here at round 5 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship here at Whilton Mill. So panic not, there are still all of the race 2s and race 3s yet to come. We've got the Pit Bike 140s coming up for you in a moment's time. So it is not long now until we get underway here on Sunday. And of course, crucially, we were expecting it, the riders are expecting it. The rain, it hasn't really come. It rained overnight, it's rained a little bit this morning, set to rain over the lunch break, but overall the racing today should be as close to dry as it can be. Obviously track's a little bit greasy, a little bit damp in parts, but looking at the lap times for this warm-up session, I mean, on the wet tyres, on the wet bikes, they're getting pretty close to what we were running yesterday in qualifying in race 1. So clearly the track's evolving very, very quickly. Obviously we know it's a temperamental track, to put it politely. You know, changes very, very fast on that old track surface, but a dry line's now formed. The track's been washed green of marbles as well, I feel, due to that rain, so there's no more kind of leftover rubber from the carts that have been going around during the week, so the marbles are all gone. It's a green track, it's just fresh for the riders to go out and attack. And well, these Mini GP 70s, we'll be seeing them out later, of course, all their race 2s and the race 3s, the last races of each of those respective sessions, the last race of the day as well. So all of that to look forward to, Lewis. And well, if race 1 was anything to go by, again, it is set to be some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as you mentioned, the track has evolved overnight with that rain, and it's definitely going to give completely new conditions today. And obviously this championship, it's attracted a lot of new names back and a lot of talent back, and being able to really teach the young riders what to do. But obviously one of those talents that have came back is Johnny Gardner, and today actually is his birthday, so happy birthday, Johnny, if you're watching. He's 14-year-old today, so it's great. Well, it's a great way to spend your birthday, racing motorbikes around Whilton Mill at FAB, where you started. So yeah, as we mentioned, FAB obviously has attracted a lot of big talents over the years, and it's created a lot of new talents, such as Danny Kent, Scott Ogden, which we had in the commentary box yesterday, actually, Scott commentating on the Mini GP 70 race, which we were just speaking about there. But the track has evolved overnight with the rain, and walking around the track yesterday, we noticed just how big these curbs are. The cameras really do not do them justice. They're almost like steps, Ross, and on the outside there's almost a rumble strip coming out the final corner, so it's definitely things that are quite unique to Whilton Mill, I think it's safe to say. And whenever we walked on the track this morning before the session started, it was very, very slippy just to walk on, never mind ride around it. So right now the conditions are half and half. It's not really what you want, and it's pretty greasy conditions for this first race that's coming up, so it should be a pretty entertaining one, which conditions are going to be a massive talking point.
Right then, it is time to get going for the first race of this Sunday session, and it is, of course, who else would it be? It's race 2 for the pit bike 140s, and as they line up in the dummy grid, getting ready to get going, you can see some of the riders there. Rossi Banham on the right, championship leader. Tristan Finocchiaro, former FAB commentator. He's been doing absolutely everything, frankly, to do with motorcycle racing. Now off working at Gardner. He's there on your left. Carter Brown in there as well somewhere. As you know, we've got a whole host of pit bikes here. As you said earlier on, 35 pit bike riders here this weekend. Eddie O'Shea there in the background as well, Red Bull rookie rider, who we spoke to on Friday. Seemed in good spirits, very happy to be back. Got a bit depressed when he, announced his age as 15. He was talking about how he's too young to do Moto 3. That didn't help my spirits, made me feel very, very old. But, a massive, massive grid. I mean, we normally have to have, a reserve list anyway for the pit bikes, because it's just, the category is completely oversubscribed at this point. It's so popular. And, you can see why. It's brilliant racing. It's pretty cost effective as well. And, it's great fun to race and great fun to watch. But 35 riders out there. We've had to, paint an extra grid slot in. It's unbelievable.
Yes, it certainly is, and with them 35 bikes, it means during the race, all the riders are going to have someone that they can be able to get a race with and be able to learn something off, because obviously these conditions, they're going to change lap on lap, and it's going to be one which is definitely going to be one to look out for. You can see some of the riders right now actually on slick tyres, so they're going to be wanting to try to get temperature in them tyres straight away and stick to the dry line, which obviously is going to be quite difficult in this pit bike 140 race, because if you've ever watched the pit bikes around FAB-Racing, you'll know these guys are elbows out all the way to the white lines, both sides of the track. It's mental racing, and it's definitely one to look out for, as the sun is actually starting to appear out at the circuit, starting to brighten up today, as the riders are just waiting to get out on the holding area for the first race of the day and the second race of the weekend for these guys. As we mentioned in race 1, Rossi Banham stormed away with it, and it was a brilliant race, and the real battle actually was for that final podium position. And well, it was a real hard fought fight between Harvey Claridge, Reece Peacock and Lucas Brown, and it was one that went all the way to the final lap. And as we've mentioned multiple times this weekend, with these 35 bikes, it's really going to be a test of when you're going to hit the back markers and when you're going to get to the back markers, because the 140s, we've seen it time and time again, the back markers can come into play massively as the riders head out now on their sighting lap.
Yep, absolutely. It's just such a big grid, and although Whilton Mill is the most flowing circuit that we have on the calendar, it's the biggest, it's the longest, it's the fastest. They still come into play. Someone tight and twisty like Clandau, for example, that they can really mess up your race here. Here it's maybe not so bad, but it's still going to be a factor. Just want to give a shout out as well to some of the pit bike riders on the FAB-Racing Facebook page. FAB-Racing, it basically all the community basically does everything through Facebook, and a lot of the riders actually have actually set up their own mini championship within the pit bike 140s for the rookies. So they have the Pit Bike 140 Rookies Championship, which we neglected to mention yesterday. Coming into this weekend, Zach Torian, he's leading that on 295 points. Tom Dudson in second on 214, and Chad Whiting in third with 184. There's potentially some problems there for one of the riders. So there you go. Your Pit Bike 140 Rookies Championship is also going under the surface of the actual championship, which is, of course, currently being dominated by Rossi Banham, who is just absolutely on fire this season. Of course, he vice champion last year, hasn't really got the battle this season with his a rider who's a no-show this weekend, unfortunately, Taylor Lawrence, who's a champion from last year, still putting in good results, but Rossi this season has just been above and beyond, it would seem.
Yeah, it certainly does. And there's Lucas Brown just making his way to the grid, the last person on the grid before we can head out on our warm-up lap. And yeah, we're looking to be a great race so far, and yeah, the riders now just heading out on that warm-up lap, last time to feel the conditions before the light goes out on what is going to be a frantic race with these 35 riders.
Absolutely. It is Rossi Banham who starts on the pole position with Harvey Claridge in P2. Reece Peacock, he'll go from third on the grid with Carter Brown in P4. Lucas Brown is P5 with Eddie O'Shea, Red Bull Rookies rider, he starts P6. Harrison Crosby is P7 with Richard Holmes-Williams in P8. Liam Wood is P9 with Michael Med rounding out the top 10. Chris Wells is in 11th with Samuel Munson in 12th. Then it's Darren Anderson and Nathan Riggy on row 7. Ollie Walker is 15th with Tristan Finocchiaro Caro in P16. Matthew Lindley is 17th with Callum Beach in 18th. Jay King, 3-time champion, he starts 19th, and Sean Whittaker starts in row P20. Adam Redding is 21st with Max Perry alongside him. Zach Torin is 23rd with Elliot Crosby P24. Cameron Saul is in 25th place with Chadley Whiting in 26th. Then it's Thomas Dudson, Roger Monks, Robert Med and Aston Dean rounding out that top 30, and they're followed by Matt Edwards, Keaton Payne, Paolo Nozo, George Muscat and Jorge Serrera. That is a huge grid full of big names ready to do some big racing, because Lewis, we know this pit bike class, it always delivers some of the most fantastic action that you'll get here at FAB-Racing, as the riders coming onto the grid now, getting ready for the lights. The first race here on Sunday, just waiting for the flag marshal there, one of the race directors, Rob. He will point to the lights and it'll be red lights on for race 2. It's red lights off, and it is a brilliant start from Rossi Banham on the inside. He slides through into the lead. Harvey Claridge follows him into P2, and that is Carter Brown who's managed to get up into P3 there, I believe. So great start there from him, but it's all action. Oh, there goes Harvey Claridge challenging to the inside of Rossi Banham, gets the move done, but Rossi, can he fight back? Coming into Inkermans, he's very good into this next corner. Ashby, having watched him there yesterday, is he able to slide through rather? I'm not sure he is. So it's all going to be stationed at the front with Harvey Claridge now in the lead of the race. As we look to the background, and there you go, you can see the yellow helmet, Rossi Banham just in that second place further back in the field. Battles going on as well, bit of a train already forming. That's what we love to see here in pitbacks, all these little comes of battles. There goes Rossi Banham back to the lead, coming into the boot, the final section of the lap. He'll round the final corner and he'll lead the first lap from pole position, but Harvey Claridge looks set this race to give him a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, he certainly does. Straight out the gate, Harvey Claridge put in the lap time, and it actually straight away he just looks so strong, and now it looks like Rossi Banham finally has a challenger. It doesn't look like he's going to get an 8.6 second lead as Harvey Claridge dives down the inside, but Rossi straight away gets the cut back and gets back through to take the lead of the race straight off of him. So Rossi Banham, he's not holding up here. Rossi Banham's leading the way straight away, and there's Eddie O'Shea battling with Lucas Brown. Of course, Eddie O'Shea had quite an up and down day yesterday, had a few mechanical issues. The seat even fell off in one of the qualifying sessions. So right now Eddie O'Shea in 5th place, trying to chase them podium positions, obviously returning back to FAB, which is one of the riders that have returned. It's great to see so many riders returning back, but Carter Brown is still in that 3rd place at the moment. Obviously it's the British Talent Cup rider, Rossi Banham, of course, British Junior Superstock rider, racing a 636 Kawasaki in the British Championship. So it's great to see these riders taking on the pit bikes and just being able to thrash them about this Whilton Mill circuit. You can really see these bikes on the absolute limit now, but it looks like Carter Brown now has a train of riders behind him.
Yeah, he does indeed. Following Carter Brown, Reese Peacock, Eddie O'Shea, Lucas Brown all looking to get involved, and that is an overtake there. I believe that was Lucas Brown on Reese Peacock for P4. Yes, it was Eddie O'Shea following them as well. So this little train here, of course, all very talented riders stuck behind Carter Brown, it would seem, who can't quite seem to get the bike gelled. Of course, when the track is like this, we see diving down the inside, there goes Lucas Brown to P3. A very simple yet sophisticated, nice move up the inside there through the left-hander. When the conditions are like this though, Lewis, it's all about confidence in the bike. You know, the track's a little bit greasy. It is starting to dry up now. You know, there's a dry on, the lap times are getting pretty close to what they were yesterday, even on those wet tyres. You can start to see dry patches on the tarmac, but it's just all about how confident you are in the bike. As there we go, Carter Brown losing another place. That's Reese Peacock this time going through on the way through Christmas Corner, and a fight back. No, there's Eddie O'Shea maybe having a look into Ashby. There's Eddie O'Shea going up the inside through Ashby, and that is Eddie O'Shea slamming the door with a super move up the inside. Awesome stuff, and just running Carter Brown out of road. And behind them as well, more riders. So Carter Brown losing a lot of places and not a lot of time. Hopefully he's able to gain that confidence that I was just talking about, because, you know, when the track is ever so slightly wet, it's all about just trusting yourself, trusting the bike, because the conditions that it can just catch you out so suddenly. If you're just that little bit nervous, just can't quite settle in, it can cost you a lot of time.
Yeah, it certainly can. It can also cost you a lot of time depending on how the bike's set up, because if you can't really get any feeling from the bike and get no feedback, you can't really have confidence. But right now, Carter Brown's under attack, trying to go around the outside. Goes the number 74, sorry. But yeah, it was a pretty hard fought battle, and this track, as we mentioned, is evolving every single lap. Every single lap there's going to be new dry lines, and you can really just tell how much confidence a rider has with how much of the track they're using. If they're going right out to the white line there, as you've seen, and yeah, if they have that confidence, they're just able to push on and push through almost a barrier that the guys at the back of the field don't have yet. So it's great to see these talents at the front, and it's great to see them all having competition. But up front, Rossi Banham now is edged away from Harvey Clarge. The gap's now 2.5 seconds. Rossi Banham is now in a rhythm.
He is indeed, and I tell you what, I think Eddie O'Shea might be having some seat problems again here, because he looks like he's almost losing his balance. You see there as well, almost kind of mid-corner, just wobbling on the seat. So I think Eddie O'Shea is at seat problems yesterday continue, as there goes Carter Brown back up the inside through Christmas corner. Nice move there. So Eddie O'Shea looks like his woes continue. Perhaps one of the strangest mechanical failures you can get on a motorcycle, and hasn't been solved from yesterday. I mean, he had to actually get off the bike and physically run and get it yesterday, and he made a bit of a song and dance. So I made a joke, but that's still not ideal for the Red Bull Rookies rider, as he drops behind Carter Brown now and again. Another rider up the inside there going through the number 15. So problems maybe for Eddie O'Shea out there as he drops another place, and actually now that's the 15 moving through on Carter Brown now as well in the 777 of Michael Mead, putting some pressure now on Eddie O'Shea. So he's really dropping back, and there goes Michael Mead. So Eddie O'Shea potentially with problems. We saw him, he retired before race 1 yesterday, even before the green flag dropped from a mechanical issue. Maybe the same thing coming to play, because I don't know about you, but it looks like he's losing a lot of time, perhaps some engine issues here.
Yeah, it certainly does, and currently the lead of the race, Rossi Banham, has now stretched it to almost 3 seconds, so Rossi Banham now getting away with it. But two riders who we haven't mentioned yet is in 9th and 10th place, obviously Samuel Munson racing in the Mini GP 70 class, and Richard Holmes-Williams racing in the Senior Mini Moto class. So it's great to see riders being able to, race in multiple classes. But right now, Rossi Banham's still leading the way. He comes across the line to make it 5 laps to go in this race, and 4 seconds now is that gap. So he's edging the gap basically a second a lap over Harvey Clarge, and Harvey Clarge is no slouch. But Eddie O'Shea now has dropped back to 10th place, and even further than that. So Eddie O'Shea is dropping down the order. He may potentially be retired, or he may still be having that issues slowing up his lap times, because you could just see the past couple of laps he was looking behind him, he was looking around him, he wasn't really completely focused on what he was doing. But there is your race leader coming through, pure confidence in the tyres, pure confidence in the bike and in the conditions, and you can just see now he's just having fun. He doesn't need to do this, he doesn't need to push this hard, because he has over a 4-second gap over Harvey Clarge, but he wants to do this. You can just see now over the rumble strip. But next year, obviously, Rossi Banham is currently racing in the junior super stock category on his Kawasaki, but next year he's meant to be returning, doing the same thing again, as this year is his learning year, learning what it's like to get a bigger bike. And with that bigger bike, it's gave him a lot more confidence in his race and in his ride himself. So when he comes here to FAB on these Pit Bike 140 bikes, he can just enjoy it, he can just have fun. And there's Harvey Clarge, currently racing actually GP2 in the British Championship in the BSB class, in the Moto 2 Championship that is integrated in the Super Sport race. So it's great to see so many British talents and British class riders coming here, and you can just see now there's a reason why they race a British Championship, because they're all up front.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, FAB-Racing is the place to be for young riders looking to progress their career. Of course, we were awarded the Road to Moto GP accolade by Dorna back in 2019, and over 60% of the British Talent Cup field came from FAB-Racing. That's a stat that has continued into 2022, and we look set to continue that beyond. It is the place to start your young motorcycle race career. It's a place to come and have fun as well if you're maybe a little bit older, potentially missed the threshold for MotoGP and BSB, shall we say. But it is an absolutely fantastic series, and Rossi Banham, one of those riders who, looking to follow in the footsteps of so many others and start and prosper in motorcycle racing, and he's doing a fantastic job there. And you said he doesn't need to push that hard, though. Honestly, I don't think he is. I stood and just watched him trackside yesterday. He is just so brilliant, especially around the top section of the track. He's just visually absolutely immense through there. And I don't think he is pushing. I think he just genuinely has this advantage over everyone else around here. He's clearly loving the bike, loving the track, even with some mechanical problems. And he's just having a good time. He's just out there living his best life, winning the race, doing what he does best on a pit bike 140. It's brilliant stuff. And with 2 laps left to go, the lead now, as Harvey Claridge comes to the line, 6.4 seconds. He is absolutely bolted away.
Yeah, he certainly has. And the pit bike racing, it's not been what we've seen in previous rounds. Usually we see about a 5 or 6 bike battle for the race lead, but of course Whilton Mill and these conditions are so tricky, and so tricky to be able to pass and follow someone through. So you can understand it, and it's still giving us some great battles, just slightly smaller than what we're used to, which is a good thing in a way. I mean, you can see now Carter Brown just coming through, just trying to get past some trying to get past some traffic here. Actually no, Carter Brown he's dropped to 7th place, so he's clearly had some kind of issues just trying to get past the 777 of Michael Med currently. So Carter Brown has he's dropped quite a bit. So now we just need to see, as Lucas Brown is currently in 3rd place, rounding off that podium position. The last lap flag is now out. Carter Brown gets past that. Following straight behind him is Samuel Munson, Richards, Holmes, Williams. But there is your race leader, Rossi Banham. He just set the fastest lap of the race last time round with a 52.5, so extremely fast lap times, and it's just off the lap record.
Well, he set the lap record yesterday, which is a 52.49. But even with these conditions, Lewis, he's that close.
Yeah, he certainly is, and you can just see how close he is now to taking the checker flag and taking the first race of the day and taking the second race win of the weekend as he comes across the line, takes the checker flag and wins race 2 of the pit bike 140s. Rossi Banham, once again a dominant performance. Harvey Claridge has yet to cross the line. He has now just under 8 seconds this time round, so not as big as yesterday, but conditions were so tricky. Lucas Brown comes home in 3rd place, with Reece Peacock closely following, and Harrison Crosby rounds out that top 5. But Carter Brown dropped down to 7th place in the past couple of laps, so disastrous end of the race for him. He was battling for the podium position, so maybe he just got caught out about the tricky track conditions that he has at the moment, and maybe just made a slight mistake because it's so easy to do.
Maybe maybe there was problems with the bike. Maybe he made a mistake. Who knows? I mean, we saw with Eddie O'Shea as well, running absolutely fine at one stage and out of the race the second for his second DNF of the weekend. But it is brilliance from Banham once again as he takes the race win by 7.9 seconds at the line. Harvey Claridge brings it home in P2 with Lucas Brown in P3. Reece Peacock managed to bring it home in P4 with Harrison Crosby rounding out the top 5. Then it was Michael Med, Carter Brown, Samuel Munson, Richard Holmes-Williams and Nathan Riggy for your top 10. But Rossi Banham, I mean, take a bow. Absolutely phenomenal riding out there, and he doesn't even look like he's breaking a sweat, to be brutally honest. He is just out there riding, having fun, and it is absolutely brilliant to watch. But of course, we've still got one more race for the pit bike 140 to come, and anything can happen in motorsports. We'll have to wait and see what can happen. Can Rossi Banham be stopped here at Whilton Mill? He looks to be set to take a hat-trick, I think it's safe to say, but of course, anyone could get in the way. The weather could come into play. There could be problems with the bike, who knows? So we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's safe to say, as the riders make their way back to the paddock, we see some high fives from the onlooking crowd. Of course, a massive crowd here, as always in FAB. All of the paddock watching all of the races, as they always do. A real family community. They all want to support each other and all want to help each other grow. But it's absolutely brilliant. And what can Banham do next time round?
Next up, we will have race 2 of the AC40 Pro race, and yesterday we seen some close racing here. Byron Johnson taking the race, winning race 1 by just 7/10 of a second over Sam Gardner. So very entertaining race yesterday, and slightly different conditions today. Obviously it's tricky conditions for them to be able to get around this circuit and just be able to remain focused, because these bikes and these tyres are obviously a lot smaller, and these riders have quite a lot less experience. Although they do have some experience in these half and half conditions, it can catch even the most experienced riders. So it's going to be a very tricky race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really doesn't know whether it wants to rain or not.
And well, if you've seen the highlight reel from 2019 when we visited Whilton Mill then and it started raining in the middle of a mini moto race, you can see what happens when it starts coming down. They all basically don't make the corners. It's really, really tricky on these little tyres, on these little bikes. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with the weather. And yeah, these riders, I mean, you know, this is kind of it's the first step into racing proper for most of these young riders. Of course, we have the FAB-Racing Rookies Cup, which is there to essentially develop your fundamental skills, understand the basics of racing. And, you know, well, we still treat it like a championship, but it is a championship. For most of the riders, essentially get out there, you know, and just get out there and get some track time with other bikes and track in a racing situation. You know, this is when it starts, you know, to, okay, this is now racing. Now you've got to learn a bit more complex things. You've got to understand, you know, different things, when to go for moves, when to attack, when to defend, what to do with the weather and different tracks as well. So it is a really, really tight championship, and it's well, we're going to have to wait and see how these mini motos deal with the changeable conditions. Although there is a dry line forming, it's well, still damp for the time being. Byron Johnson, though, he's going to start on the pole position with Lewis Hull alongside him. Sam Gardner will go from P3 with Harrison Day in P4. Matthew Thomas, he starts 5th with Rex Oxton in P6. And the 4th row is Swedish rider Leon Lindqvist, and then Oliver Hall is in P8. Jensen Bishop and Bradley Curtis round out the top 10 with Beth Ashby and George Ackerman 11th and 12th. There's Dylan Torian, Callum Maxwell, Chloe Sewell and Lucy Curtis finishing up the grid. So not the biggest pro grid that we've seen before, but you know, this is a big track, very physical, very bumpy, and very hard for these mini motors to get around without absolutely roasting the tyres, even with the wet patches. It's going to be a tricky race, I think, and of course they've got another one to look forward to later, so they've got to think about that as well. You know, this is going to be tough for them.
Yeah, it certainly is. And now they just need to remain focused and just have complete trust in their ability and complete trust in their bike, and just hope that everything that everything this morning that they didn't warm up, although it was far wetter than this in warm up, everything that they learned in warm up about this track, when it's not perfect conditions, they can use now to their advantage. But now it's time, and it's time to race. What is going to happen? Let us know down below who you're commentating and then who you're supporting, who you want to win. And if you're just joining us, you've joined us at the perfect time. It's the AC40 Pro race. It's race 2 of the day, and it's race 2 for the AC40 Pros. And now we wait for the lights to come on and then come out as Byron Johnson comes away from pole position, and now lights are out and we are racing. And Byron Johnson gets a perfect start as Lewis Hull just drops back the order straight away under attack now, as Sam Gardner is actually on the grass, and Sam Gardner is now right at the back of the pack. So absolutely disastrous start from him. He just needs to remain calm and remain focused and just try and make up positions. But now Byron Johnson leads the way from Harrison Day. Harrison Day, this time round, not wanting, of course, his chain came off yesterday, so he was not wanting Byron Johnson to be able to get another race win today, as Harrison Day, he had that issue yesterday in the first couple of laps after what was an amazing start. So now we lead the way and we lead through, as now it looks like Oliver Hall, last year's rookie champion, is in 5th place at the moment. Good start from him, as Sam Gardner still tries and reclaim them positions back.
Yeah, what a shame for Sam Gardner. I think he might have just been shoved out onto a wet patch, and then when you're on there, it's basically a one-way trip onto the grass. Did very well to stay on the track. There is very light rain being reported, but that is the support of the Whilton Mill. Light rain, even the lightest of rain, turns this place into an ice rink, especially for these mini motors on the little tyres. So we could potentially be facing some very tricky and very changeable conditions here. So let's keep your eyes peeled as some of the riders siding their way through the pack. There goes Sam Gardner on his way back through. Harrison Day, fastest lap on the opening lap, managing to stay within a second of Byron Johnson. So it's not all doom and gloom yet for Harrison Day, although it's not the start that he would have wanted. I'm sure he would have loved to have got back in front of Johnson once again and avoided his mechanical woes that he faced in race 1. But it's still early on in this race, still plenty to happen. I'm sure that Harrison Day, first lap's out of the way, he's just going to focus in on the race, get his head down, just reeling Byron Johnson, and just get to work attacking. As there we go again, moves being made all around here on this pros field, coming through the final section now. There through the boot, and well, I think actually maybe a slight twitch maybe for Lewis Hull, because he's now got a bit of a train forming behind him as they all cross the line there, and maybe a move to the inside and further back as well. Whoa, side by side, Rex Austin and Matthew Thomas. Awesome racing there between the pair of them, and that was Lewis Hull, actually, apologies.
but Lewis Hull forcing Rex Austin out of the way Lewis Hull and Matthew Thomas, should I say. Lewis Hull forcing Matthew Thomas out of the way after Thomas got through at Oblivion. Owen running wide there as well. More riders, so there's chaos everywhere, it would seem, here in the pros, because they're all swapping places every single corner. This pack of riders is a huge battle, and the rain, you can actually see it now coming down on the camera. It's still very, very light, but it is definitely, you can tell it's getting a bit more slippy out there. This could cause havoc, Lewis.
Yeah, it certainly could. And now we see Sam Gardner on the back of Liam Lindquist. He's currently in 7th position. Just a lap ago, he was in 11th place, so he's making moves. He's making moves almost every single corner. But now there's Matthew Thomas down on the second final corner, the 128 bike, the lime green bike. He's just trying to then get that bike restarted and get going again and just try to get valuable championship points. And now we see Liam Lindquist still trying to find any way past Rex Austin, as Rex Austin is now up into that 3rd place with Matthew Thomas falling. So now this final podium position has about 5 or 6 bikes battling for it. So Rex Austin now just needs to keep his cool, as Byron Johnson leads the way now by 2.2 seconds with the fastest lap of the race with 59.6. But you can just see some of the rain on the camera lens now. It's starting to rain, and it's starting to get nerve-wracking for these riders. Currently at the moment, it looks like it's just some mental rain, and it gets in your visor. And then you can see now Sam Gardner actually having a little moment. So maybe the track's just starting to get wet and just starting to get a bit of dampness on it, because whenever it does start falling, especially at this track, a lot of the riders will be thinking and just trying to be cautious. But you can go about a lap before it starts getting too wet, and then before you start being cautious. So you can see now a bit of caution through the corners for all the riders. So mature from them.
Yeah, very, very mature riding, very smart riding, but they're all definitely backing off a little bit in the corners. You can see, well, that mental rain, as you said, is 100% a real effect. You know, although the rain may not be coming down hard, even here at Whilton with light rain causing havoc, it's still very, very light rain. But you get those few drops on your visor, and suddenly you're thinking, it's raining, and it really starts to play. And then it's all about bravery and just confidence on the bike. And one rider I've got my eye on, actually, Oliver Hall in P5 at the moment, of course, the rookies champion from last year, hasn't picked up a podium since that first round, as we've got a rider down at the back section of the track, and hopefully they're all okay. Marshall's running over to make sure they're okay, but we continue on for the moment. And there is Oliver Hall in red P5 flag, as the red flag has been waved. So we have a red flag situation here at Whilton Mill as the rain starts to come down and catching out some of the riders, unfortunately, and hopefully everybody is okay. But the red flag being waved, as you can see there. So we'll hopefully wait and just make sure that everyone is okay. But, well, as I was saying before we had the stoppage to the race, of course, the red flag means the session is immediately stopped in its tracks. Riders must come to a stop at the nearest marshal post, as you can see. And before the red flag, I was saying Oliver Hall hasn't picked up a podium since that first round. And, of course, the reigning rookies champion from last year. He's a rider I'd love to see get another podium, move further up and really continue his development. But, well, let's go back to the race start, shall we, as the rider is up on their feet, which is great to see. Bike being carried by some of the marshals as well. The number 14 there of Liam Lindquist, he was running in P4. So hopefully he's all okay. Of course, Liam and his dad there just running away, along with Daniel Hall, Oliver's dad there in the background. Liam, one of our international riders here at FAB, coming from Sweden. They fly over for every single race. Unfortunately, this is the last round we're going to be seeing Liam this year. Couldn't get any more time off school for the remainder of the season. So he's going to have to stay in Sweden until next year. But we're talking to his dad earlier in the week. You know, they're working out a plan with his teachers for next year so they can come to every race. And luckily for us, a bit of a treat for this round. Normally they fly back after the second race. They can be back in time for school on Monday. But luckily, he's here for race 3 as well. So Liam still able to get back out there. It's not over for him like normal. There's still time to get back out there. Just been told there's going to be a slight rain delay because there is some light rain there. So potentially a chance just for the riders and their parents just to have a bit of a discussion as well. Let the other members of the paddock as well, who have the ability to maybe change onto wet bikes and have the the decision to make later on what tyres and bikes to go out on, to just kind of make that judgment call for later on. But just to confirm, if you're just joining us, a red flag here due to an incident at Whilton Mill here, round 5 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. Riders are all okay. It's fine. Liam Lindquist had a bit of a fall, but he's up on his feet and looks to be in good spirits. He seems all right to a commentary box window anyway. You can see him there just walking across the track. But we're going to remain under red flag condition just as the weather seemingly comes in, and we're just going to wait to see what the weather does. But Harrison Day, let's focus on him for a moment. Not the start that he really wanted. He managed to get in front in race 1, Lewis, and was leading very comfortably actually for about a whole half lap before the chain decided it no longer wanted to be on the bike. So I'm sure if this race gets restarted, he'll be wanting to, try again, get back in front of Byron Johnson and just defend for his life, because that seemed to be his tactic yesterday. Now he was trying to make the gap appear, couldn't quite make it appear, he was sticking onto the back of Byron Johnson. Now I think he's got to try and get a better start again and get in front of that number 37 of Byron.
Yes, certainly. And Harrison Day, he came from 4th place, so getting into 2nd is still a pretty good start, but it just wasn't as good as yesterday. Yesterday it was a magical start until it obviously had that mechanical issue, that chain coming off, and you could just see the frustration and the disappointment, because obviously Harrison has missed a round due to an arm break in the crash that clamped out in the Friday practice. So it's good that he's came back, and he's came back stronger, and you could just see as the race was progressing, he was just starting to close that gap between himself and Byron Johnson. It was down to 0.4 of a second, so he was just starting to edge out that gap and just starting really to have faith in himself and the conditions. So we're heating up to be what was going to be a great race, but obviously we have this red flag at the moment. Safety at FAB is of course paramount, and all the medics and the staff here at FAB and all the marshals do a great job at keeping everyone safe. And yeah, it's what we love to see about FAB, just the commitment from all the officials and being able to make everyone as safe as possible. But right now we're under a rain delay, and we're just waiting to see what's going to happen, if we're going to maybe wait 5 or 10 minutes to see if the rain goes away, or if it's time for riders to get switched on to the wet compounded tyres. And it's just trying to get it to be safe as possible. But hello and welcome if you're just joining us. My name is Lewis Ray, and alongside me this weekend is Ross McIntyre. We're bringing you through all 20 races that we have here this weekend, and all 20 races that we have here today. It's a jam-packed day full of racing, so these delays, although we have a delay right now, do not leave us yet. We have plenty of action coming up. Next up, we should have the Extreme 200 class. So yeah, Ross, we've seen yesterday in the Extreme 200s, it was a great race, and going into the weekend, you could just see the amount of talent and the amount of talent they have in the field, and the amount of riders that have returned back to FAB for this weekend's racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Extreme 200 class is, or the open pit bike class, as some like to call it, because that's essentially what it is. It's not always the biggest class here at FAB, but this weekend they've really turned up in numbers. I mean, you go back to even last season, and sometimes they were combining the Extreme 200 and Moto Team classes because there wasn't enough riders in each of them, to allow it to have its own class, essentially. In the regulations, they just couldn't allow that to happen. Now we've got over 30 riders in this Extreme 200s class. It's absolutely brilliant to see. And we're just waiting for this rain again. It's barely raining, but we're going to have to wait and see. Just been told already that it looks like we're going to jump straight to the Extreme race. So we'll rerun the AC40 Pro later. So the AC40 Pros will have a complete restart later on. So don't worry if you're a Pros fan. Still got that to look forward to. And of course their Race 3 as well. But we are now going to jump straight to the Extreme 200. And it's been confirmed as a wet race. Now, looking out the commentary box window, it's really not raining that hard. But again, very old track surface here at Whilton Mill. Very temperamental. It's known as Slippery Mill in the community for a reason. It rains slightly, it turns into an ice rink. So that's why I think we're sending out the bigger bikes. The riders who've had a lot more experience, in motorcycle racing, probably can deal with the wet conditions just a little bit better than the pros, who maybe some of them may have, if they were at clay, they probably would have raced in the wet, but if their first time on a pro bike or something like that, they may not have raced in those wet conditions, so you've got to give them a chance to get used to it. So just to reconfirm, we are going to jump straight into the race 2 of the Extreme 200s with the AC40 Pros race 2. They'll be back later, so panic not. So we'll just wait to see until they head out onto the grid. I can see out the commentary box window as well. Some of the Extremes riders went to go out. A lot of similarities between the pit bike and the Extremes grid. A lot of riders racing both. Rossi Banham, I can see out the window. A lot of the British Talent Cup riders come back to go in the Extreme 200s. We've got Lucas Brown, Bailey Stewart Campbell, Carter Brown's doing it. Eddie O'Shea, I think, is doing it this weekend as well. So a lot of the pit bike guys are the same as the Extreme 200 guys, Lewis, but it's still a great category with some very exciting racing.
Yes, certainly, and as you mentioned, the amount of talent in this field, and one rider who I don't think will be racing today is Sullivan Mountsie, obviously one of the British Talent Cup riders that should have been racing, but he had quite a hefty crash in qualifying actually yesterday, which meant that his bike practically just got totaled and it was not able to be raced. But Sullivan's okay himself, obviously racing last weekend at Brands Hatch and racing next weekend for the British Talent Cup round, which is at Silverstone. So all riders looking forward to that and looking forward to finally getting a chance in front of the Grand Prix paddock to show themselves. So it's so great to see the amount of field that we have here, and it's, as you mentioned, it's such a big field actually that we have for the Extreme 200s, because we have seen in previous rounds them almost getting joined in with other classes, but now for this round it's a massive grid as we wait to get underway.
Right then, race 2 of the Extreme 200 getting ready to get going out on the sighting lap. All of the riders pulling up to the dummy grid. You can see there some of the stars of the field. Jamie King, Rossi Banham just outside your shot to the right hand side. Got Harvey Claridge, Carter Brown's in there somewhere as well. So lots of exciting things to look forward to, but we'll have to wait and see. And there we go, they are now heading out onto their sighting lap. So one lap around the grid, and then they'll line up on the grid after this brief lap. Then you'll have your formation lap, as you do, and then we'll get going for the race proper, and the red lights will come on and then they'll go off. We all know the procedure by this point, and it's time to go racing for the Extreme 200s. And it's a very big grid here as well in the Extreme 200s. Not quite the 35 of the pit bikes, but it's 33, so it's not exactly smaller either. There is Rossi Banham and Ollie Walker alongside, of course, Rossi Banham was actually out on his pit bike 140 yesterday and not the 200, a bit of a slower bike, so we'll have to wait and see. And there's Filip Sorowiak in the background as well. Of course, Filip Sorowiak, third place in the three-way tiebreaker of the Mini GP 70s Championship last year, now a British Talent Cup rider, and of course, as you said, Lewis, racing in front of thousands, if not millions of fans around the world next weekend at Silverstone for alongside supporting the British Grand Prix with Moto GP, which is absolutely fantastic. Many a FAB rider going to be on television in front of lots of people for the first time, which is great to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's great to see them finally getting the opportunity to prove themselves in front of a global audience. So yeah, it's going to be great, and it's going to be great for them finally to use the Grand Prix circuit once again. It's going to be a completely new challenge as we wait for some of the riders just to find their way into the grid slot. You can see Jamie King, centre your picture. He's had quite an up and down season. In between rounds, he's had to rebuild 2 pit bike engines
and his spine.
So he's had quite a lot of accidents this year as well. And actually, looking out of the commentary box window and looking on screen, you can just see the tyres that they're on right now. Majority of the grid, if not all the grid, are on slick tyres right now. So although it is declared a wet race, they are on slick tyres. So they're going to have to be steady these first couple of laps.
Yeah, very interesting. So it was declared a wet race by race control. Again, the rain that was coming down was very light, but it's just because the nature of Whilton Mill as we get going on the formation lap. Even light rain turns it into an ice rink. So we're going to have to see how that pans out. That gamble on the slicks may not pay off. We'll have to wait and see. But it's Evan Belford who goes from pole position with Bailey Stewart Campbell alongside. Eddie O'Shea starts in P3 with Filip Sorowiak in P4. Sullivan Mountsie, he will be starting P5, unfortunately a no-show. Hopefully we'll be seeing some of him in some form later on. And Jake Smith, he starts 6th. And it's Harvey Claridge in 7th with Louis Smith 8th. Rossi Banham is 9th, and Phil Dickens rounds up the top 10th. There's Andrea Tadea and Aaron Parker on row 6 with Ollie Walker 13th and Lucas Brown 14th. Noah Guillory is 15th with Harrison Crosby 16th. Zach Turin is 17th. Carter Brown is 18th. Hayden Rosa 19th, and there's Jordan Hopes in P20. Jay King, he starts in 21st with Dan Bray in 22nd. Then it's Owen Thomas followed by Sean Whittaker. 25th is Callum Beach with 26th. Jack Andrews. Kieran Kent is 27th. 20th is Adam Redding. And it's Cameron Sewell, Vinnie Jones, Hussein Basilkan, Thomas Dudson and Peter Horn rounding out your grid for this race 2 of the Extreme 200s. There you can see Carter Brown weaving, trying to get the heat in the tyres, maybe on the slicks, but it's still cold, potentially still a little bit damp out there as well. So, this opening could be interesting. We've already seen in a few races today, riders going straight on at turn 1 and onto the grass, getting shoved out onto the outside. Not any marbles there anymore. They've been washed away by the overnight rain, but it's certainly damp, and it's a very tight, very fast left-hander at Oblivion. So, going to have to wait and see as the flag marshal walks away, points to the lights. It's time for race 2 of the Extreme 200s. It's the lights off and we are underway, and it's a great start from Evan Belford. He gets away very, very well indeed. Following him as well is Bailey Stewart Campbell and Philip Soroviak in P3. So the top 3 all maintain their order. A bit of scuffling further back in the pack, but it is Evan Belford that leads the way. But look at that, Bailey Stewart Campbell all over the back of him. Is that Harvey Claridge that's already worked his way up? Oh, and I think Philip Soroviak with a problem there, losing lots of places very, very quickly. So Soroviak going backwards, but going forwards is Evan Belford and Bailey Stewart Campbell there bolting away, and that is definitely a problem for the 75 of Philip Soroviak, and that is a bike going very, very slowly. Unfortunate for him.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Philip Soroviak, these bikes can be so temperamental, so it's just such a shame for him. But right now it's still Evan Belford who leads the way, with Bailey Stewart Campbell closely behind. Harvey Claridge had an amazing start and already up to that 3rd position right now, so great start for him. But Phil Soroviak, it looks like he's retiring from this race, a massive shame for him. But Rossi Banham has made it up into 4th place. You can just see, there's a small gap as Louis Smith and Jake Smith is just behind him, and both of them actually have just got past him. So Rossi Banham has a battle in his hand right now. Obviously yesterday he did use his pit bike 140 bike in the Extreme 200 race. It looks like actually he's doing the same today as he gets down the inside of the number 66 Louis Smith. But Louis Smith on that Husqvarna, he's just trying to battle back. He's just trying to show what he's made of, and right now Rossi Banham is taking no prisoners. You can just see how close that was. He couldn't fit anything between them. But now Jake Smith now comes past him on that, in the KTM levers on the KTM, and Rossi Banham is taking none of it. You can just see them start edge away. He's already having to look behind him, because in this class there's so many riders that have so much talent, so you just have to constantly be on the watch out. As Noah Gilray actually has made it up into the top 10 now. Noah Gilray also racing in the Mini GP 70 class, and he said the Extreme 200s is his main focus for this season. Well, the Mini GP 70s is just to get extra track time, but there is your race leader, and there is the man with the fastest lap of the race, a 50.119 and 7/10 lead already over Bailey Stewart Campbell, as you can just see now coming out the corner, front wheel rising. You can just see the commitment that you need to have to lead this race, and the commitment you need to beat this young talent.
I didn't realise I'd signed up for a motocross weekend. That was front wheel well up in the air. Amazing stuff over the curves. I can't believe that was too comfortable. And well, I think it's also safe to say Rossi Banham is definitely on his pit bike 140 with the smaller engine, because you can see him on the straights just getting absolutely destroyed by everyone around him. Unfortunate there for Rossi Banham, but I think he's been having a few problems with his 200, the bigger bike. Of course, the pit bike 140 is a little bit slower, a little bit less power than the 200 bikes, but also in the Extreme 200 class it's basically anything goes, so you can enter 140s, you can enter different bikes as long as they meet the much more open regulations. But up the front it's still Evan Belford, who's now only a 10th off the lap record, and Bailey Stewart Campbell giving him a good chase, not far off of his lap times either. Those two are looking like they're almost 2 seconds a lap quicker than anybody else. They are absolutely flying, and Bailey Stewart Campbell is staying on the tail of Belford as well. That time the lap time's just dropping a little bit, potentially some traffic that they had to deal with. Action further back in the pack as well. Carter Brown, who didn't get the best start in the world, unfortunately he's fighting his way through, and well, Carter Brown doing his absolute best, and it's Brown versus Brown, it would seem, as they come to the line. Lucas followed by Carter, and there's Rossi Banham as well. He's still holding on to that P6 for the time being. We know Rossi is absolutely awesome round here. His pit bike 140 races can attest that. Unfortunately just doesn't have the machinery to compete in this class, it would seem, but he's putting up a mighty job of it anyway, holding on to that 6th place and absolutely wringing that thing around by the neck, which is absolutely phenomenal. Harrison Crosby, I believe, is also in that battle. But up the front, it's still Belford from Stewart Campbell, from Harvey Claridge now in P3. And the gap's now slightly extending. Bailey Stewart Campbell dropping over a second back, 1.1 seconds. As coming out of the pits there, that was the number 14. I want to say that was Jack Andrews that's just come through the pits there. So maybe some problems for a few of the riders.
Yeah, certainly. And Jack Andrews obviously fighting for the Moto Team Championship, but there is Noah Gilray right now under threat with Carter Brown, and Brown just behind him, so he's just trying to keep them both behind. So they're just coming for your picture now. The Mini GP, and there's Rossi Banham actually having to retire from this race. So Rossi Banham absolute disaster for him, having to retire, and it doesn't look like he's going to be returning and coming out that pit lane, so not what he would be wanting. Obviously just won the Pit Bike 140 race, and now already you can just see Noah Gilroy under massive threat in a brown sandwich actually right now, so he's really having to use his head, just shaking the head actually from him.
Yeah, I mean, Noah Gilroy on that Grand Prix style bike. Again, it's a very open class here in the Extreme 200s. So you get these pit bike style machines, you get these Grand Prix style machines as well, and he's got himself between the two Browns, and Carter Brown pushing very, very hard. They almost make contact coming out of the Ashby hairpin, and Carter Brown over the rumble strips, all over the back of Noah Gilroy now. He's looking to try and spot the gap and get through, look and follow Lucas Brown. Of course, no relation between the two Browns. They just happen to share a surname and, happen to share the racetrack at the same time as well. And it's currently Carter Brown who's looking to put the pressure on Noah Gilroy, and he was looking to move round the outside there, coming through the left-hander before Inkermans, and now he's got a chance up the inside into Ashby hairpin on the brakes. Very nice move there, textbook stuff up the inside into the hairpin. That's exactly how you want to, but Noah Gilroy got a lot of pace on board that bike. I'm sure he's going to try and fight back. And Carter Brown, of course, over racing in Junior GP Europe this year, a phenomenal rider who's come back again to FAB. Just shows, he's there as well with people like Johnny Garnett and all these FAB riders who have gone on to do so many big things. They're all back here at Whilton Mill this weekend and putting on a show for us.
Yeah, they certainly are, and Carter Brown having quite a good year in Junior GP actually at Portimao, came from the back of the grid and managed to get into the top 10s. Just so impressive, and so impressive to see such young British talent be able to do this. And there is the Smith battle that's going on right now between Louis Smith and Jake Smith. But right now, Noah Gilroy, actually, I've been seeing the past couple of laps, a lot of head shaking, a lot of looking about, so maybe something's just not right off the bike, or maybe he's just frustrated in the way that things are going for him, dropping back to that 10th place again. He was up to 8th, but now back down to 10th. But there is the Smith battle still raging on between the KTM and the Husqvarna. You can just see Louis Smith on the little, having a little bit behind him, and now they head down the straight, head to make it 4 laps to go in this race, with Evan Belford still leading by 1.9 seconds now over Bailey Stewart Campbell. Harvey Claridge sitting there in that 3rd place, just comfortably, really. Harvey Claridge, quite a lonely race for him so far, but a very, very respectable result for him, and as that battle still goes on between the Smiths.
Yeah, absolutely. It would seem that the slick gamble has paid off. Even with the wet declared race, I think the rain stops not long after the opening lap. That even if it is a bit greasy on the track, if you work the slicks hard, you can make them work, and they can give you a lot of time. And it's clear, Evan Belford at those times now just dropping off a little bit as the race wears on. At one stage, he's only a 10th off of taking the lap record, so he's absolutely flying out there. He's now got 2.2 seconds of Bailey Stewart Campbell in P2. Again, a fine rider there, Harvey Claridge. Well, apparently 19.4 seconds off the lead in P3. 3 laps left to go here. Race 2 of the Extreme 200s, and this Smith battle still going strong. The 66 against the 56, and it's the 56 and the KTM up the inside, but unable to quite make the move here. The Husqvarna of the 66 just maintaining in front as they come around the back section of the track into Ashby. Oh, and problems there for the 56 and out of the race. Oh, I do not believe it. Reliability issues claim another rider. And he tries to get it going again, I believe, or he's trying to see what's wrong, but that looks to be terminal, and I'm afraid that will be it. And looking further on as well, 2nd and 3rd, I believe that is. No, that's not 2nd and 3rd, apologies, but there is some action throughout the pack nonetheless. But what a shame there.
Yeah, it certainly was, and there is Kieran Kent on your screen, obviously brother of Danny Kent, came from FAB actually himself, Danny Kent, and has went on to win, of course, the Moto3 World Championship in 2015. But right now, Kieran Kent is in a fierce battle with Owen Thomas right now, and that is for position 16 right now. So Kieran Kent slightly further down the order than what maybe you would expect, but still pushing on, still such a talented rider. But this race, all talk has been about Evan Belford. This man here, 1 lap to go. He's on the final lap of the race with 2 seconds lead, as Bailey Stewart Campbell is now just getting past some back markers, just trying to get through Queen Lane, just trying to see if he can make any kind of dent in that 2 second gap. As you see there, Bailey Stewart Campbell having a slight moment, losing the rear just slightly, but there's a race leader on the last half of the lap. the 52 of Evan Belford. British Talent Cup rider. He has a few back markers in front of him, a little front wheel lift in there. He goes past the back markers. He's not really too concerned and too worried because he does have a decent sized gap, but it's been another fantastic victory as he runs the final corner in the final lap to take the race win and take the checker flag to win the race. And what a dominant performance again from Evan Belford, and a 1.1 second lead as they come across the line over Bailey Stewart Campbell. So Bailey Stewart Campbell on that final lap being able to catch up just slightly, but Evan Belford taking the prize and taking the points as we wait for Harvey Claridge to come home in third position.
2 from 2 then for Evan Belford, but it's not over yet because there's further battles throughout the field. These two were so dominant, so far ahead that the race hasn't finished for the majority of the riders who are still on that lead lap. That's Carter Brown and Harrison Crosby in a battle there, and at Lucas Brown as well behind. They finally come around the line. Andrea today manages to finish a brilliant P4. Carter Brown gets P5 and Harrison Crosby is able to scoop up P6 as well. Harvey Claridge, as according to our timing sheets, tumbling down the order, so Harvey Claridge, a potential stoppage or something along those lines, and the yellow flags are waving, but I'm not sure if that's for the checkered flag or for a potential accident. But it will be Evan Belford who takes not a dominant win over Bailey Stewart Campbell in P2, but the pair of them take a dominant first and second over Louis Smith in P3, or no, it was Harvey Claridge in P3. I think the timing screen is just having a bit of a moment potentially, but Harvey Claridge in P3, Louis Smith I think was P4, Andrea today with P5, Carter Brown P6, Harrison Crosby P7, Lucas Brown in P8, Zach Torian it was P9, and Noah Guillory managed to finish in the top 10. And I think I've just seen our commentary box window, there's actually been an accident after the checkered flag and someone's ended up on the floor. So there you are. Just shows the chaos that happens here in the Extreme 200 sometimes. It's a bit of a crazy class. When you have a class that you can kind of turn up with anything and race with anything tends to happen.
Yeah, it certainly does, and it was Harrison Crosby. He's just trying to get the bike restarted down, so a little instant on that cool-down lap. But he got across the line, he got past the checker flags, that's all which matters. But we've seen Jake Smith actually a couple of seconds ago that he managed to get the bike restarted, so he hopefully will be able to make that race free later on today, because obviously all these riders still have one more race today and one more race for their weekend. But that was a pretty good racing conditions. Very, very tricky for these riders. Obviously, all of them were on the slick tyre compound as the race started, and we're just waiting for more action to come underway and for a final restart on what was the race earlier.
Well then, it's time to give it another go with the AC40 Pros, the second attempt at running this race following the red flag and the rain delay. We're going to have an 8-lap race here for these young riders before we get going. So we'll just have to wait and see what they're going to do. They'll be heading out onto the grid in a moment's time. And yeah, we'll be able to get going for that pro race. As well, of course, we tried giving it a run earlier. A little bit of rain came down, had a few falls, and then a red flag was thrown. The race decided to be postponed until it's completely and utterly dry out there. Again, the weather, we're not entirely sure what it was supposed to do yesterday. All of the weather apps were saying it was going to rain hard all day today, and now half of them are saying it's going to rain in the afternoon. Some of the riders said their weather saying it wasn't going to rain at all. It's been spitting it on and off all morning. It rained overnight. Some of them are saying it was going to rain over lunch. We really don't know what's going to happen, so we're going to have to wait and see what the plan is. This is going to be the rerunning of the AC40 Pros in the second race, and well, one rider who I think is going to be wanting to make a better start this time around, Harrison Day, who of course didn't quite get away as well as he would have wanted in race one. Of course, he got the lead from the start. Half a lap later, chain falls off, and that's that. And this one didn't quite get the lead from the start and was just stuck following Byron Johnson. Couldn't quite get through, couldn't make the gap appear. I'm sure he'll be wanting to repeat his race one antics without the bike braking.
Yes, it certainly will, as they head out now to do their sighting lap before we're able to get the warm-up lap, and then we can get underway for the restart of this race. But one person who this will suit very, very much actually is Liam Lindquist, who I believe is out there and is out to make the restart of this race. So although he did was involved in the red flag incident. He's had time to get checked out, time to check that he is okay and ready to race, so he should be able to start this race. So it's going to be a very, very good race. Conditions are drying. Conditions should be good enough to get a good race and get a good idea of what race 3 is going to be like if we can also get dry running. Obviously, this being an 8-lap race, it's shortened by 1 lap and shortened by the original distance. So less time, for example, if you do make a bad start, less time for you to be able to make up that time again. There is Lewis Hull actually talking about bad starts. Lewis Hull, one of our slightly taller riders here in the pros. So it means that whenever you're in the straight line and getting off the line, he has quite a straight line deficit, and he really, really has to make up the time in the corners, and you'll just see it on this restart how much time he loses, and he really has to push hard on these first couple of laps.
Yeah, no, I mean, it may seem like we're being harsh, but unfortunately, you know, because these riders are aged 7 to 13, you just get riders at different stage of their physical development, different stage of growing up. So, you know, you get bigger riders who, you know, they're taller, they're heavier, they've just got a bigger physique, and on such small, such light motorbikes, you want to be as small as you possibly can. This should be the formation lap, although judging by the 8 finger signs given by that will be the formation lap then. So we're going to have 1 warm-up lap before an 8-lap race. Just a bit of confusion there, but all sorted. So this is the formation lap as we head back out and go round one time for the riders to give themselves a bit of an idea of what the track's looking like. Here is the grid then. Byron Johnson goes from pole position once again. Lewis Hull, the big boy, as we were talking about a moment ago, goes from alongside him. Sam Gardner starts P3 in the fast starting Harrison Day. He goes from P4. Matthew Thomas is in 5th with Rex Austin in P6. Liam Lindquist, he's been clear to race. He's P7. And Oliver Hall, the Rookies Cup champion from 2021, is in P8. Jensen Bishop and Bradley Curtis round out the top 10 with Beth Ashby and George Ackerman following them. Dylan Torian and Callum Maxwell, they're on the 7th row of the grid, and rounding it out is Chloe Saul and Lucy Curtis. And problems there, and a few problems there, and we've just been told in our ear, apparently the light rain is starting to return, and we've had a few people having some issues. That's a broken chain there for the 71.
Bradley Curtis having some issues, yeah. And we also seen, I believe it was George Ackerman who had some issues. Yeah. So now riders now super disappointed, because now it's really actually raining hard. All the adhesion flags are out on the circuit to tell all the riders that the track is slipping, that these conditions are not favourable, and these conditions really do not like these AC40 Pro riders. Every single time they're trying to get a race in, it's just pouring down for them, and these young riders, they really need to keep calm now, because it's going to be so stressful. And whenever you're on the grid, you don't want to open up your visor really either, because in these conditions, this is the type of time that you get steamed up visors. But they managed to get the chain back on and managed to get them going again. So frustration for Bradley Curtis. So now we wait to hopefully get this race underway for what should be very, very dramatic race. I mean, look at the amount of rain that is now in the camera and now falling onto slippery Whilton Mill.
Yeah, the rain is now coming down pretty hard outside.
It's very, I can say as well, actually, sorry, it's very, very windy. Yeah. You can just see now the wind with the flags.
All the crowd trying to find their way indoors. A few trying to take refuge in our commentary box as well. This could get interesting as the weather comes in. We weren't expecting it till lunch. We had no idea what it was going to do, and it's arrived as we get ready to rerun the AC40 Pros race. Just waiting for all the marshals and the mini motos, to put it politely, do not like the rain. And you can see there the rain coming down, a few hoods going up, some of the parents taking refuge as well as we're just waiting. A lot of the riders getting soaked as well. Last preparations being made by the parents. Just a short delay here. Hopefully we won't be here too much longer as the final rider pulls in to their slot following the mishaps on the formation lap. So this is it. This will be the race start, and that rain is coming down, and this Whilton Mill, it turns into an ice rink when it rains, doesn't it? We're ready to go racing for race 2 for the AC40 Pros. The rain is coming down. Problems for some of the riders, but it doesn't matter because the red lights, they're going to come on, and it's red lights off. We are underway here in the AC40 Pros. It's actually a very good start for Lewis Hull, and it's an even better start for Harrison Day, but he still isn't able to sweep in front of Byron Johnson, who maintains the lead heading through Oblivion and through Crook. So as we get going, as as the rain comes down, and at this stage it's all about just staying on the bike, staying confident in the bike. And you can see there on the camera, just how wide as you can see there, Harrison Day challenging all the way through Inkermans. That's down, I believe that's Oliver Hall who's gone down onto the deck, looks to be okay, rushes back over to the bike, and luckily it's still going, and the bike is all okay, and that's down as well. That's Byron Johnson from the lead of the race. Byron Johnson goes down, and the weather causing chaos here on the opening lap of the AC40 Pros. Unbelievable scenes.
Yeah, certainly is. Byron Johnson down on the first lap, and now you're just seeing all the riders tiptoeing round. They really do not know what to make of these conditions, because obviously on the first race it was far better conditions than this actually, although it was half and half. This is just pure downfall now, and it's very, very difficult for these young riders. But Harrison Day right now leads the way and trying to make the first race win of the day, and now he's just trying to push on. Lewis Hull has dropped back and is now under threat between Matthew Thomas and Jenson Bishop right now, as Beth Ashby is falling, who's starting in pole position now, and Byron Johnson now just has to make up this time, has to keep cool though, because if you push too hard in these conditions, that's when you can make another mistake. But Sam Gardner is in second place right now, just 7/10 behind Harrison Day, so it looks like Sam Gardner and Harrison Day, all eyes are going to be on them, and really just trying to force each other into making a mistake, which is so easy to do in these conditions. I mean, you can just see it now as they head around. The track is track's lethal. I mean, you can just see a joint in the middle of the track, which if you went to go over it in dry conditions, it's bad enough, never mind these wet, slippery conditions. Touch any curves and they're so slippery. All the paint around the track is so slippery. As actually Harrison Day in the background there, it looks like he was going very, very slow. It was an issue for George Ackerman. So he's just trying to get that bike restarted. George Ackerman having an issue on the warm-up lap as well, and now having an issue in the races. Lewis Hull has fallen back a little bit now, and still now Matthew Thomas is trying to find the way, as it looks like actually Lewis Hull is he's struggling in this race, but maybe these wet conditions might help him out, because it's all going to be about the corners in this race and not going to be about the straight line speed. But actually it looks like Harrison Day's crashed on the last lap and dropping down the order rapidly, so now Sam Gardner is our race leader, and there is Sam Gardner leading the way, and there's another rider on the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they say that rain is the great equaliser. It's also the great chaos causer as well. I mean, you will have seen those yellow and red striped flags waving at the side by the marshals. That's to indicate the track surface is slippery. I'd like to think the riders are well aware at this point. The rain is hammering down here at Whilton Mill, and it is causing absolute chaos. And at this point, it's just about staying on the bike. And as you said, you can see down the middle of the track there, those joins in the tarmac. And as you head into some of the corners, I mean, Parker Corner, the left-hander at the top of the hill, is one of the spots you come to. There's just a join in the worst place possible, and as you come into the boot as well, the back section, just joins and holes in the tarmac at the worst places possible. They just unsettle the bike in the dry. In the wet, they can be terminal for you. It is absolutely lethal out there, but these riders, they're doing a great job in the conditions where the best thing you can do is just stay on the bike. Oh, 3 wide, and that's Hull down on the dirt. I believe that is Lewis Hull that's gone down, unless I'm mistaken, and that back on the bike gets going very, very quickly. But that was yeah, he's managed to get going, but that bike doesn't look like it's the happiest thing in the world. But he's going to give it a good go anyway. He manages to get it going once again. So, that was not the best thing in the world, unfortunately, there for Lewis Hull. He goes down, hits the dirt, and at this point, as I was saying, it's just about staying on your 2 wheels. It is lashing it down out there. And when it's raining on these mini motos, you can't push too fast, but you can't be too cautious, and you've just got to keep calm inside that helmet and just stay on the bike.
Yeah, certainly. Sam Gardner still leads the way on that black bike just in front of the orange levers, and you can just see Rex Austin actually chasing Sam Gardner, trying to make up that time. Currently Rex Austin having an amazing ride in second place, but there's your race leader Sam Gardner. He's looking comfortable right now, but he can't be too comfortable, because in these conditions every single little movement on your bike makes a difference. And there's another rider down coming in out of the final corner there. Conditions being so tricky, as it's proper rain now. It's not just light, it's fully lashing it down. So right now race leaders need to be so careful, because there's 5 laps to go. We're almost at the halfway point in this race. Obviously it's just an 8-lap race. We were just at by 1 lap, so now we're just trying to make it through. It's just trying to get round cleanly and make up some points, because Lewis Hull has dropped all the way back to 12th place. So Lewis Hull having a disaster of a race now after crashing out, and really having just to make it cool. But there's the battle for second place actually between Rex Austin and Matthew Thomas, and they're still battling and being able to just show the racecraft in these conditions, which is so impressive from these young riders.
I mean, these guys are 7 to 13 and they're out there in the soaking rain on motorcycles giving it large. That is just unbelievable. It just shows the bravery of these young riders and the dedication and just how much they want it and how much they want their motorcycle racing career. It is just brilliant stuff to see. And on top of that, the racing action is fantastic as well, as it always is at FAB-Racing. And that's Matthew Thomas having a look up the inside, coming through Parker's corner there. Sam Gardner, of course, took his first race win last time out at Clay Pigeon, but he's had a few podiums along the way. Currently second in the championship. Matthew Thomas looking to the inside there, unable to make the gap appear, but Sam Gardner, he showed maturity last time out in the wet at Clay. He's shown maturity this time in the wet, potentially a bit of a wet weather specialist there in Sam Gardner, so one to watch for the future when the skies are grey. But this battle for second heating up as we have 3 laps now left to run in this race 2 of the AC40 Pros. Rain slightly letting up, but it's still pretty heavy out there, and the track is pretty sodden. And well, as we all know, Whilton Mill in the rain is not the place you want to be, but second is the place you want to be, and second is the place that Matthew Thomas is just taking, getting the drive out of
both
of them. Down they go, coming through Christmas corner, and that is such a tricky turn. It's off camber, the right-hander at the top of the hill, and Rex Austin's managed to get going. Matthew Thomas has lost a lot of time, and I think he may have dropped behind Jensen Bishop. More drama further back as well, a few of the riders. That's Oliver Hall off the road in the background. He's shot at the front of this shop. There's someone there as well. So it's just chaos out there, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly. It's just riders falling left, right and centre. It's so tricky. The rain has picked up once again, but there's Lewis Hull and Byron Johnson having a battle right now and really just going at it, which is so strange to see. There. Yeah, Byron Johnson in 5th place at the moment and just trying to keep us cool positions, changing lap on lap, because with the amount of followers that we're having, you can go from 5th to 10th in one lap, or 5th to even 2nd in one lap with the amount of followers. There's Oliver Hall, just managed to rejoin the race, and there's Byron Johnson finding the way past them, as now they're practically crawling round this track and really just having to keep cool and keep calm as we head round the final corner. 2 laps to go in this race, and there's Lewis Hall was having another crash, and not what he's wanted. He's gonna have to get about restarted again. He's up on his feet straight away though, but you can just see the rumble strips actually that are on the outside of the final corner, which can be so slippy with the paint. And there is Matthew Thomas crawling himself round this circuit, just trying to keep calm. 2 laps to go. You just need to use your head. You can see all the parents watching on the pouring rain. They didn't have time to get a jacket before this race started, so they've had to stand out there the whole time and help the kids and help them in this race without any coats. So great dedication from them, and great dedication from this man here, Sam Gardner, leading the way now by 11.4 seconds.
That was at the
He's
line.
just kept at the line, so just kept his cool. And you're about to see now as he runs final corner, this gap will probably go up. He's looking so good as we head on to the final lap, and we head on to the final lap as we see the final lap flag actually out the yellow with the black cross.
Yep, absolutely. Let's follow Sam Gardner around and we wait and see where Jensen Bishop is, waiting for the gap. Still waiting for the gap. And it's 13.7 seconds now. Sam Gardner is showing maturity beyond his years. I mean, out there in weather like this is so tough, because you've got to go faster than you think you can go, because you've got to keep the tyres warm enough to keep the grip, but you can't go too fast because you'll end up on the deck. I mean, Sam Gardner, this is brilliant stuff. Of course, took his first race win last time out in the wet at Clay Pigeon. Obviously gave him a huge confidence boost, and now he's out there putting on an absolutely brilliant display in the pouring rain here at Whilton Mill. And Sam Gardner, this is where, young blossoming careers start here at FAB-Racing. Could we be seeing Sam Gardner at BSB, World Suplex, Moto GP in a few years' time? This is where it all starts, and this is absolutely brilliant from Sam Gardner. He's got a few corners left to go in treacherous conditions before he can go back and hide in his tent away from the wet. It is an absolute masterclass from Sam Gardner on the 56 as he rounds the final corner and takes a victory in the soaking wet. Race 2 goes to Sam Gardner here at Whilton Mill, and that was a ride beyond his years. Absolutely phenomenal in the wet weather. and that was unreal. He is so far ahead of Jensen Bishop in second place, who's done a brilliant job. He crosses the line now. Oh, it's Rex Austin who's finished in second place. So Jensen Bishop's gone down somewhere, and he's dropped behind Rex Austin at the death. So it'll be Gardner from Austin, from Bishop, your top three. The rest of the riders still just struggling to make their way around. The rain is picked up once again on this final lap. But Sam Gardner, what a superb and mature ride that was. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, it certainly was. Sam Gardner being your race winner, with Rex Austin in second place and Jensen Bishop rounding off our podium. And wow, what a race that was. A drama all the way through. And as Sam Gardner crossed the line, you've seen fellow riders such as Lewis Hull stand at side of the track, giving them a wave and giving them a cheer on. You can see it happening there with all riders who's managed to finish the race. But Sam Gardner is a race winner, and what a race win it was from him. And Sam Gardner wins the race by 14.6 seconds over Rex Austin, and what a result that was, and what a result is for his age. Obviously not too much experience, but Rex Austin second place, Jensen Bishop third, Byron Johnson coming in fourth, Matthew Thomas fifth, Bethany Ashby sixth, Callum Maxwell seventh, George Ackerman eighth, and Oliver Hall in ninth, and Harrison Day getting a DNF and 10th place from that. There was only 9 finishers that race, just showing how treacherous the conditions actually were, because I mean, staying on those conditions is one thing, but being able to win by 14.6 seconds, and it almost looked like he didn't put 1 foot wrong, is a completely other thing.
I mean, I think the most important thing we've learned in that race is that you can't trust your weather apps on your phone, can you? Because everyone was thinking a different thing, but I tell you, no one was thinking it was going to rain in that race, and it is absolutely chucking it down. What a mature ride, though, from Sam Gardner. And to be fair, all of the riders have done a spectacular job, getting out there in the wet weather conditions. Being able to stay on the bike alone was a feat of amazingness, and that is just brilliant stuff. There's all the riders coming back now into the pit lane, but Sam Gardner, maybe we've got a bit of a wet weather maestro on our hands, because that is the second race win he's taken this season, the second race win he has taken, an absolute downpour, and it was a super sensible ride. I mean, he just rode perfectly, didn't make any mistakes, and that was absolutely brilliant stuff. Kudos to Sam Gardner, he takes his second race win of the season. But I think there's a few riders there who I think we want a bit of justice, want a bit of vengeance, shall we say, in race 3, and of course we've got that to look forward to a little bit later on.
Next up, we will have the Mini GP50 Race 2, and it is wet conditions for these riders, and because of these wet conditions and because of delays that we've had, it's only going to be a 10-lap race for these guys, so 1 lap will be taken off their original race distance, so even less time to make up moves if you make a mistake or make a bad start. So you really just have to focus, but it's going to be a real question of who can adapt to these conditions the quickest, because as we know, they're only going to have a cycling lap and a warm-up lap to be able to realise what they need to do in slippery conditions.
I mean, it's nice, it's horribly humid and warm in our commentary box, but I'm much happier that we're in there than out there in that on a motorbike. It is super wet, and I'm sure a few of those riders, once they got out there, are thinking, what have I got myself into? It is unbelievably wet conditions, and at this point it's less about competing, racing, finishing the race. It's more about just staying on the bike more than anything. A lot of these riders, some of them are quite young, even for the 50s, of course, this being the first step onto this Grand Prix style machinery. It's the first time these riders are on that Grand Prix style bike, and although some of them have competed in these bikes before and have ridden these bikes before, and of course you do a lot of training on these bikes beforehand before you step in, so you're ready to go racing when you finally make the jump from the mini motos. A lot of them won't be that confident in the wet, and especially here at Whilton when it is super slippery when it rains, and it is absolutely chucking it down right now. I mean, motorcycle racing, I'm sure you're well aware, Lewis, is pretty tricky when it rains anyway. I'm sure you've had your fair few wet weather experiences up at Knockhill where you race, but it is ridiculously wet out there. It must be horrible for the riders.
Yeah, it will be, and they'll be getting rain on their visors, and they will not be able to open up their visors, and because if they do, they have a chance of their visor getting steamed up as soon as there's a tiny bit of moisture in there. And when your visor steams up, there's no going back. And you can see actually some of the riders, such as Marco Holt, using a wetsuit on over his levers just to keep his levers dry, because when they get wet they weigh a ton. But they head out now on their warm-up lap for what is going to be race 2 of the mini GP 50s, and it's not the biggest grid here. There's only 8 riders taking part, but I'm sure we're going to get plenty of action. And Luke Fitchett will be starting on pole position alongside Archie O'Brien, and his championship rival being just behind in 3rd place. Marco Holt starts 3rd, with alongside him Bill Harris, brother of Ronnie Harris, in the 70s, and Finlay Paul Hill starts 5th after coming back from an injury. Frankie Watson 6th place with Harley Baker in 7th, and Bailey Lawrence rounds out our grid in 8th place on the number 9 machine. But conditions now so tricky. You can just see crawling around on this green flag lap and just trying to keep the bike upright, keep temperature in the tyres, get temperature in tyres, and it's very, very wet in these conditions. But you can just see this is almost Scottish weather actually. But Marco Holt using a rain suit, as I mentioned, it's just complete personal preference. Some riders don't like it because it can make you almost feel a bit restricted on the motorcycle, but sometimes it's better feeling a tiny bit restricted than feeling wet, because in these conditions you just have to stay calm. It's less physical for you around this track, so on these 50s, with it being a bigger motorcycle, it's going to be less physical for you to get round these 11 laps, well these 10 laps actually, that we're going to have, with the race obviously being reduced as the riders head up to the grid. Final word and final checks done by the parents before we can get final checks done on the grid and get underway for race 2 of the mini GP 50s. And Luke Fitchett well wanting to repeat what he did yesterday, but lights are on and lights are off, and we are racing for race 2 of the mini GP 50s, and Luke Fitchett makes a great start straight away, but it's Archie O'Brien who drops back slightly but manages just to maintain that 2nd place, which is exactly what he'll be wanting to do. But straight away he has Marco Holt on his tail as Finlay Paul Hill is trying to get past Harley Baker or Bailey Lawrence, slightly dropping off the pack, but right now it's Luke Fitchett who leads the way as Marco Holt has managed to find the way past his championship rival Archie O'Brien. As you can just see now, each corner they're feeling the conditions, and coming out of each corner they're leaving tracks on the road because it's that wet for these guys, as Luke Fitchett leads the way by a commanding lead straight away and looking so confident in these conditions.
I mean, just go back and watch yesterday, watch the race in the dry, and look at how different the races. Look at the leaner, look at the speed they're taking in the corner, and that just puts into perspective how wet it is out there. It is so tricky for these riders. As Harley Baker goes down, 24 takes a tumble down the back, looks like to be okay. Hopefully the bike's okay as well. Luke Fitchett is already broken away at the start. Marco Holt manages to get in front of Archie O'Brien, of course, there. And that wetsuit actually flapping around in the wind there, so hopefully it's all secure and doesn't fly off or cause any problems. Marco Holt with the fastest lap as well, but he's 4 seconds back at the line. Luke Fitchett has pulled 4 seconds on the opening lap. How is that even possible? And you can see the gap. That's unreal.
Yeah, certainly, as Marco Holt has quite a bridge to cross, and he really just has to start making up time, and making up time now before it's too late, because it's such a short race, as Archie O'Brien is now under attack by Bill Harris and Frankie Watson. As Bill Harris looks around the outside, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to make it work. And Bill Harris right now, he's just trying to feel out the conditions, but he's looking slightly more confident, and he's slightly more confident on the brakes and makes the move over Archie O'Brien and in to that valuable podium position, that 3rd position. And now it's really going to be a test to see what can Archie O'Brien do. We've seen Archie O'Brien in warm-up earlier in wet conditions as well. He was down in about 5th position, so on the 1 lap it didn't look like he has the pace. So now he just needs to keep calm and think about the championship, because this is round 5. This is when championship points really start to matter, and he doesn't want to lose too many to Marco Holt by crashing out in this race. There's 8 laps to go, with now the lead being 5.1 seconds.
Absolutely. I mean, Archie O'Brien, of course, 3rd in the championship after a whole host of opponents. Pretty tight up the top, only 27 points, as we see there. Once again, Archie O'Brien actually swapping places with Bill Harris, so Archie O'Brien slides back through. He hasn't actually taken a win yet this season, surprisingly enough. I mean, he's a double champion from the mini motos last season, took the pro and the elite crowns, but he's he didn't spend a lot of time on the GP bike over the winter, not as much as he'd like to. So it's been a bit of a trial by fire this year for Archie O'Brien. Of course, part of that Vision Track Academy team, so he's had the best support that he can. And of course, he is such a mercurial talent out on track. He really is a joy to watch, and such a lovely young lad as well. He's always super happy, super nice to talk to, and really, really friendly. And he's just brilliant out on a racetrack as well. And obviously, bit of a trial by fire, as I said, and especially with seeing in the wet, maybe just not too confident yet with the bike in wet conditions. So it's, because it's one thing to, get used to and get familiar to yourself with the machine in the dry, throw in some rain, and it all goes completely out of window, and you've got to learn it again. And obviously, it doesn't rain as much as it's sunny, so you can't, book yourself a wet practice day, can you? It doesn't quite work like that, unfortunately. Luke Fitchett already lapping at the back of the grid. He's gone past Harley Baker already. His last lap a second quicker than Marco Holt. I think Marco Holt has started to warm to the bike just a little bit, but the damage has already been done. 6.8 seconds was the gap last time at the line. Oh, down! Who was that went down? I think that might have been Frankie Watson that went down. It was Frankie Watson that went down. Lost the rear coming through, the left-hander up the top of the track just before Inkermans. And hopefully can get the bike restarted. Didn't look to be too hard of a fall, and good to see he's back up on his feet. But again, just shows you make a slight mistake, ever so minimal error, and you're on the deck.
Yeah, it's so easy to make a mistake. It's so unforgiving in these conditions. But Frankie Watson, he was looking pretty strong this race, just behind Bill Harrison, looking like he wanted to attack with a brand new fairing actually he's brought this weekend, which has two dragon eyes on the front of it. So whenever a rider looks around, it looks aggressive, and you can just see it there. The bike trying to look as aggressive as possible as Frankie Watson walks off. He is on his feet, which is great to see, because when you crash in the wet, you do normally slide a bit more, which usually results in not as hard of a landing. But right now, Archie O'Brien is still in that third position right now. He's coming to lap some traffic being Harley Baker. So now he's just trying to get past him, not lose too much time and not make too many mistakes, because the thing in these conditions is just who can make less mistakes. And right now it's Luke Fitchett with a 9.5 second lead now over Marco Holt. The two have cleared off because it's a further 8 seconds back to this man here, Archie O'Brien, with just Bill Harris lurking behind him. Bill Harris, though, you can just see throughout the race, Bill Harris is looking stronger and stronger, really feeling out these conditions. Both these riders really doing the smart thing, and that is from lap one, taking it a bit more steady, unlike Luke Fitchett's and Marco Holt's approach. Both obviously working, but these guys, they're just thinking about the championship maybe a bit more, just trying to get points on the board and just feeling out the conditions before they start pushing and before they start doing anything stupid, as we have just 5 laps to go in this race.
I mean, obviously when it rains, every corner is different every single lap, and you just kind of got to judge it when you get there almost. It's a bit strange to explain, but it is really drive by or ride by feel, more than anything else. You can mentally prepare as much as you want, but when you get there, it can be a completely different corner to what you expect, just with puddles or the weather, or even just a lack of grip, as Archie O'Brien actually losing his balance a little bit there on the bike. I think a bit of a wobble, leg just shooting up in the air there for a second. There is your race leader, who is absolutely flown away. And we've seen a few strong performances in this wet weather already in the other categories, but I think this is going to be the pick of the bunch so far. Luke Fitchett has absolutely dominated this race so far, and he'll cross the line now and have 4 laps to go. That number 7 just looks so in tap with the track. I mean, it's, everyone else just, it sounds harsh to say, but no one else just seems to be quite on his level in this race. He is just operating on a higher plane. He's just doing everything right. He's completely in tone with the bike and the weather, no mistakes, super confident, clearly happy on the bike and the tyres with the conditions. He's just running around there. I mean, if he was at the back of the grid, I'd call it an unscheduled test session. I think it feels a bit wrong to say that, but he's so far ahead of everyone else. It's like he's not even in a race. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it certainly is. Luke Fitchett storming the way out front from Marco Holt, and Marco Holt running the number 2 plate, as obviously finished last year in the championship in the 50 class, second in the championship, so he's trying to do one better this year, and so far it looks like he's on course to do it. And right now, he's in a pretty good position, second place. He's just trying to get them championship points. Use his head. We've not seen him make any mistakes yet, because obviously these bikes are 2-stroke motors and have a power band. So sometimes when you're on that side of the tyre, just get into the power band a bit too early than what you were expecting, with conditions obviously changing slightly every lap, and your rear tyre just suddenly gets that power, and if there's any puddles, it's so easy to crash. I've been a victim of it myself with the 2 strokes and the wet conditions. It's so tricky to do. But Luke Fitchett leads the way now by 13.6 seconds each lap. It is just getting bigger and bigger. And there's third place Archie O'Brien making his way around the final corner now. And we'll see if that gap has got any bigger between himself and Mark Holt. And now that gap is now 13.1 seconds. So Archie O'Brien quite a distance back, but he's still in that podium position. He knows now with 3 laps to go that he's never going to make up that time to Mark Holt. So I don't think there's too much point doing anything stupid, as Archie O'Brien's just sitting in the 109 consistently now, while Luke Fitchett up front is about 3 seconds a lap quicker.
I mean, Luke Fitchett, of course, currently second in the championship. Although it's tight up the top of the table, it's Marco Holt who leads. And, well, that'll mean that after this race, and taking into the account the race from yesterday as well, there should only be about 6 or 7 points in it by my calculations, maybe even less so after Marco Holt's third in race 1. So Luke Fitchett causing change in the championship potentially here, as we've got 2 laps left to go, and this is a brilliant ride. As you said, it's so tricky, especially just on the brakes when all that weight's on the front tyre, and when you're accelerating as well with the power band. Of course, when you're turning as well, the diameter of the tyre that's in contact with the ground decreases, so you've actually got less grip naturally because you've got less tyre on the floor. So if you try and put the throttle in, you're in that power band, you've got less grip because you're turning and there's less contact patch. It can be so easy to come off the bike. Luke Fitchett is just completely in tap. He is completely switched on at the moment and is just doing everything right. I mean, there's been no mistakes this race whatsoever from the number 7, and it was a phenomenal ride in race 1, but this time it has been an absolute masterclass. If you ever want a lesson on how to race in the wet, look at Luke Fitchett.
Yes, certainly. And I mean, he does have a race coming up in the Mini GP 70s, so I think everyone on that grid is going to be looking towards this and maybe even slightly worried as he comes across the line to make it just one lap to go. Just one more lap to get round safely, get around, no more mistakes. He doesn't even need to push on this lap because Marco Holt's yet to cross the line still, and he's round at turn 3 now. So Luke Fitchett, it just looks like he just needs to stay on these 2 wheels and get around, because now the gap is 16.4 seconds over Marco Holt. So it looks like Luke Fitchett has it in the bag. He obviously won the race yesterday by just 2 seconds, and it looked like he was coming in confident for this race. Wet conditions came and he just took it like a duck in water. You can just see now how fast he's going past the back marker there, going past Harley Baker. Harley Baker has an incident obviously earlier on, crashing out, but he managed to remount and he's getting some points on the board, which is all that really matters at the end of the day. But Luke Fitchett, just a couple more corners now to get round. It's going to be almost 17 seconds this time round. One more corner just to get round in these treacherous conditions at Slippery Mill. He takes the checker flag and he takes the race win with his dad celebrating. His dad's absolutely delighted, just as I'm sure Luke Fitchett will be as well. Every single person who's finished this race will be absolutely delighted, and you can just see waving to the camera. He's absolutely delighted with that thumbs up to the crowd, and there's nothing more he could have really done. It's a commanding victory. Marco crosses the line now, 15.9 seconds back as we wait for Archie O'Brien. Spider-Man helmet with obviously the clear visor to see in these wet conditions. Crosses the line now, takes a valuable 3rd place, a podium position. There is your podium. Luke Fitchett with the flat cap on, taking the race win from Marco Holt in the Marco Simoncelli inspired levers, with Archie O'Brien in the Vision Track sponsored rider coming home in that 3rd place. But Luke Fitchett, you can just see how much this means to him. He is buzzing with his race win. He's so delighted, because that did not come easy.
Well, there you go. What a race, what a ride from Flat Cap Fitchett there. Phenomenal scenes And luckily, in the last few laps of that race, the rain did stop falling. So now it's just a wet track, no more rain being added to it. But it will be Luke Flatcap Fitchett who takes perhaps the best win of his young career yet. He takes the second victory of the weekend with Marco Holt championship leader, but potentially not for much longer. He finishes in P2. Archer O'Brien managed to hold on for P3 with Bill Harris not far behind in P4. Finley Polehill, he was able to get P5 as well. A great ride for him there with Bailey Lawrence in P6 and Harley Baker in P7. Unfortunately, we did lose Frankie Watson from that race. But again, Luke Fitchett, I mean, of course, congratulations for all of those riders for finishing that race. That was brilliant. But Luke Fitchett, I mean, that was absolutely phenomenal. That is how you ride in the wet.
Next up, we will have the AC40 rookies, and these riders, they raced last round in the wet conditions, and now it's just as wet probably as it was at Clay Pigeon. So these riders, they have a lot to overcome in race 2. Race 1 yesterday, it was a great race. Sebastian Gieslowski won by 7.6 seconds over Taylor Tomlinson. So it was not the Taylor Tomlinson show that we've been used to seeing all season. So now with different conditions, I am almost certain we're going to see a completely different race.
Yep, absolutely. It's interesting to see what's going to happen. I mean, of course, the rain has now stopped falling, but it's we'll have to wait and see. It looks like they may just be doing a start from the go here in the AC40 Pros. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. AC40 rookies, rather. So we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen with the start, whether we'll have a formation lap or not. But it is, although the rain has stopped falling, it is still very, 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 very wet out there. But it was Sebastian Gieslowski, as you said, who took a fantastic race win yesterday. Obviously riding a little bit emotional, a little bit angry. Taylor Tomlinson nearly wiping him out alongside a back marker. I think it was half a mistake hitting the brakes too late, also half a bit of a dirty move, just trying to shove him off the racetrack a little bit. And then what was, ruthless from the young man. And then Gieslowski, riding a bit angry, came back and proceeded to absolutely wipe the floor with everyone and shot through into the lead and never looked back. As we're just waiting to see what happens, I think we will be having a green flag lap, a formation lap, and we will. So let's go through the grid, shall we? It is your race winner from yesterday, Sebastian Gieslowski, who goes from the pole position, but it's Taylor Tomlinson, the Titan at the top of the table. He goes from P2. Logan Cousins is P3 with Seth Hayward in P4. Josh Perkins is in 5th with Preston Baker. He starts 6th. Then there's Nicholas Dunwoody and Caelan Ratcliffe. They start on row 4. Matthew Jennings and Tyler Hartley round out the top 10. Then there's Annabelle McCarthy, followed by Kai Hawken, Max Johnson and Jensen Ansel in 13th and 14th. P15 is Archie Hoof with Daisy Polden alongside. Then it's Danny Longhurst in 17th and Mason Frederick in 18th. Jensen Sanders and Henry Brody round out the top 20. Then it's Oliver Wilson, Leveson Usher and Freddie Taylor. Again, shout out from the media team here to Leveson Usher for having the best name of the entire FAB-Racing paddock. We found out about his existence on Friday. It's his first event here at FAB-Racing, a young rider competing for the first time in a race. And, we immediately fell in love with the boy just for the name. So it's great to see, such a young rider ending up, and of course, riders as young as 6 can compete in this rookies category. And I highly implore you, if you have a young child yourself, or you're a young child and you fancy giving it a go and you're watching along, as we have a problem there for someone at the back of the grid, maybe. I highly implore you to come along. Go to the FAB-Racing website, check it out. You can find out how to get involved. It's a wonderful community here, and I highly advise you that you come along and find out how to start yourself a motorcycle career. Hello and welcome. If you're just joining us, you are just in time for race 2 of the AC40 rookies. Make sure you like, share, subscribe the stream, and get ready to go racing.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go racing. Mason Frederick Hatchell is the rider there having an issue at the other side of the track, so he's just trying to get the bike restarted and hopefully make it start this race, and hopefully for what is going to be a very, very dramatic race. We were speaking to some of the riders. They all said they didn't want it to rain at this circuit because it's so tricky. So we're just waiting to see what is going to happen now, if we wait to see a point to the light to get the race started, or if we may have another green flag lap just to let the riders feel out the conditions as we wait for 1 or 2 riders just to make their way onto the grid and make their way into their grid slot before we can get underway. So we're just waiting for a signal from Rob, and it looks like we're going to have another green flag lap. So let these riders feel out the conditions, and one rider actually to look out for is the 141 of Max Johnson. We're speaking to his parents this morning. He was saying to his parents actually that he's just going to go all out and just going to push as hard as he can.
Yep, well, his mum maybe not feeling too confident on that one as the young man, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of the riders do like a challenge, and this wet track here at Whilton Mill, which is ever so slippery in the damp, as we're already seeing riders going down on green flag laps. It is ever so tricky out there, especially for these young rookies, many of whom may not have raced in the wet before if they didn't show up last time at Whilton Mill, or just not too confident on the bike again. This is the first racing experience that almost all of these riders will have experienced, as we have another crash or a stoppage there. So again, riders as young as 6 can get on these mini motos. Up to 42 miles an hour they can go at full chat with an exhaust restriction. It's great to see riders showing up week after week, round after round, new riders cropping all the time, like Leveson Usher, as we just mentioned, the darling of the media team, it would appear, due to his name. Don't worry, there's some great names elsewhere as well, if you're feeling jealous. But it's great to see these young riders getting out there and giving it a go. And this is where your motorcycle racing career starts. This is where all the people who have made it into some big series from FAB-Racing, your Danny Kent, your Scott Ogden, your Scott Reddings, and current riders we're looking through. Some of them we've got here today, Eddie O'Shea, and riders like Casey O'Gorman, all of those who have gone up and gone into future. This is where they got the start in the FAB-Racing Rookies Cup. And we're getting ready to go racing now, and another rider down. This is the formation lap, Lewis. Shows it's pretty treacherous out there.
Yeah, it does. It shows how tricky it is. And there is actually the number 5, once again, Mason Fedrick, having another issue, maybe having another tip off. So he's just trying to get that bike restarted, and it doesn't actually look like he's going to be starting this race now. It was a very, very tough couple of warm-up laps, never mind even getting into the race. So this race now, all riders are going to have to keep calm. Remember, these guys are rookies, so they don't have too much experience in the rain, and they don't have any experience around Whilton Mill in the rain, which is something else. It's no slippery mill. You can see the joint actually in the track, the middle of the track. You don't want to go over that. You don't really want to be touching any of the paint, and you don't want to be touching any curbs in these conditions with these many motos. Such small tyres, such small guys. So we're just waiting now. Final checks to be done on the grid, to the riders, to the bikes. Then we can get underway for what will be race 2 of the AC40 rookie class. And you can just see now some people having some other fun at the Whilton Mill circuit. There's plenty of things to do around the circuit for people of all ages. It's a real good day out for the family at Whilton Mill and for FAB-Racing. You can watch some racing, have some fun. It keeps everyone entertained. But we just wait now, telling everyone to get off of the grid before we can get underway, and before we can see the lights go on, then go off and we can go racing. Rob points to the lights. We wait for the lights to come on. The red lights. Well, now come on. And now they are off and we are racing. Sebastian Gieslowski gets away. Great. It looks like he's leading the way towards turn 1, but it'll be his championship rival Taylor Tomlinson who's just behind him. And now Taylor Tomlinson, he's not wanting to repeat yesterday. He's wanting just to go for it from lap 1. And Seth Hayward is just behind them. And now you can just see all the riders taking completely different lines in these conditions. And
that's Gieslowski
already down just at turn 3, and there's riders down. Tomlinson also down. There's a gaggle of riders completely down for championship positions. Seth Hayward also down. Archie Hooper down. Tyler Hartley down. There's riders down left, right and centre. It's just trying to keep on 2 wheels in these conditions, just trying to stay upright. And Sebastian Gieslowski down, Taylor Thompson down. Now it's really going to have to wait and see who can do what in this race, because now the race has just been blown wide open.
I mean, I don't even know who's in the lead right now. I mean, we've only had 2 race winners this year. They've both gone down. We don't know where they are. There's a whole host of riders just trying to stay on the bike right now. It is completely insane. The rain has started to fall once again here. So although it started with no rain, just a wet track, the rain now coming down. So it's only ever going to get worse from here on the opening lap of the AC40 rookies. My, oh my, Whilton Mill is cooking us up some drama. Once again, another fall in the background. I can't quite tell who that is, unfortunately, but down, that looks to be almost like a high side from here, just losing the rear of the bike and going down. So hopefully they're all okay, and safety absolutely paramount here at Fab Racing, especially for these young riders. But it seems to be the number 93 of Preston Baker who's opened up a 3.7 second lead early on into this race. A few riders here, there and everywhere. Nicholas Dunwoody, the number 35, they seem to be following in P2. And Preston Baker, seemingly the rider who is leading
there's
the
another
way.
rider down there. Rider's falling absolutely everywhere. So that's the 127 of Daisy Polden. She was in fourth place.
Another rider
and
there.
there you can see even more riders just falling down on the deck. It's so easy to make these falls, and so easy. One little slip up and then you're down on the deck. But Preston Baker leads the way on that blue and black number 93 bike. Obviously Harley Baker, his brother, racing in the 50s. We've just seen him out. Maybe he's given his brother some advice on what the track's like, and now he's leading the way in this race. But every single corner positions are changing. It's so tricky to stay upright on two wheels, and you can just see now the riders coming through, taking all different lines through every single corner. Some of the riders as well using wet knee sliders that are about double the thickness of normal dry knee sliders, so you can get your knee down far easier with less lean angle and still get feel for track conditions. As you can see, actually some of the riders such as Seth Hayward riding with their knee on the ground, well, with their leg on the ground actually. And there's another ride down in the back of our shot. Every single corner is riders just falling, and it's so easy to do in these conditions. I believe that's Cousins having a small tip off, but 6 laps to go. It's still Preston Baker who leads the way on the number 93.
Another ride down
last corner, and Nicholas Dunwoody still in that second position. Taylor Tomlinson has made it up into third place, into a podium position again, with Archie Hooper in fourth and Seth Hayward fifth.
I mean, what's important to note, I think,
and there's a race leader.
Yeah, there is the race leader, whose last lap time of 1:24.947. Taylor Tomlinson in P3, last lap of 1:19.972, and following him, Archie Hooper went even faster. So Tomlinson and Hooper clearly the fastest bikes out on track at the moment. Taylor Tomlinson, those two are coming, I think. And there was Taylor Tomlinson, I think, in the back of the shot already. He's closing into the back of Preston Baker. We'll see here in a moment. But, those two are absolutely flying. And, we've got absolutely action everywhere, and there is Taylor Tomlinson in P2 already. Unbelievable scenes up the front. Taylor Tomlinson's worked his way back through, further back in the pack as well. There is action all over the place as Hooper now through to P. That was a 1:18 from Taylor Tomlinson. It's raining. How is it possible to go this fast? The boy has just got heaps of talent, and now he's looking to put the pressure on Preston Baker, who's fighting for his first victory in Fab Racing and in the Fab Racing Rookies Cup. He's done a phenomenal job to stay on the bike, but the mercurial talent that is Taylor Tomlinson, he is coming, and he's got to find a way past. Surely he's diving to the inside of Ashby. That can't be a gap. Shutting the door goes Preston Baker, but it is very, very close between the two of them. Of course, it is one thing to catch a rider, Lewis, but it's another thing to make that gap appear. It's another thing to get past them.
Yeah, it certainly is. And in these conditions, it's even trickier. You can hear some of the people at the crowd supporting them on, cheering them on, because this is a battle forming between Taylor Tomlinson and Preston Baker. Taylor Tomlinson, as you mentioned, Ross, is so fast in these conditions. Daisy Polden also down with another rider coming in at the exact same point. It's so easy, even whenever you're trying to be careful. All it takes is for you to touch a slight bit of paint, and then you're down on the deck. But what a disaster it's been for so many people in this race, and surprisingly there's not been too many retirements. He managed to pick up the bike and carry on. But Taylor Tomlinson now leads the way in this race. Taylor Tomlinson leads the way now by 9/10 of a second. He's wiping his visor. He's just trying to be able to see a tiny bit of the track, just seeing where he's going, trying to find a braking marker, because he changed every single lap. Preston Baker now maybe taking it a bit conservative, as Taylor Tomlinson having a moment coming for the hairpin to set up the bike just slightly. It's so easy if you just take it a bit too tight, if you just ride a bit tight, and then you're going to lose lap time. But now Archie Hooper is now catching up to Preston Baker. You can just see Archie Hooper on the back of Preston Baker trying to go round the outside now, and he has made it work. Perfect move as Taylor Tomlinson now his way. But can Hooper put pressure on Tomlinson?
Well, Hooper is the only one who's lapping anywhere near Tomlinson's lap times at the moment. Was actually faster by 3/10 that last tour. but of course he's got 4 laps to go. He's got to catch Tomlinson, who's now in clear air. It's now stopped raining again, but of course track's still absolutely soaking, so we've just got to take absolutely everything with a pinch of salt at the moment. We simply don't know what's going to happen. There is Archie Hooper in P2, followed by Preston Baker in P3. Taylor Tomlinson just a little bit ahead, so let's see what the gap is. It was a little under a second last time. Now it's 2.5 seconds, so I think Archie Hooper losing time, potentially stuck behind Preston Baker there. There's your race leader, Taylor Tomlinson, once again putting in a phenomenal performance after a fall on the opening lap. Almost a bit of a pile-up with multiple bikes getting involved, but he's got back on the saddle, and he's gone absolutely just flying, hasn't he? He is just, I mean, it's unbelievable. He's doing 118.8s now. You know, the track is absolutely soaking. You've got riders going down left, right and centre. This is the Rookies Cup. This is where racers learn the fundamentals, you know, learn really how to ride the bike in a race. Taylor Tomlinson, he's just clearly just a step ahead of everyone else, and honestly I feel like he should almost be in the pros. He should almost just move up to the pros. He just feels like he's ready for that, and you know, he's just putting, because he's just at that level, he's ready to move on already. He's just out there wiping the floor with everyone, unfortunately for everyone else, but he's just so talented already, and I'm so excited to see what he can do in the future when he inevitably does move up to the pros and the elites and beyond that. 3 laps left to go this time by, shortly to be 2 laps as he comes around the final corner. Now another rider down. Was that Preston Baker? Yes, it was for Preston Baker. His first fall of the day. He was quite a way away of Seth Hayward, so he should be able to hold on to that P3 and get his first podium of the year if he's able to stay on. Seth Hayward was a long way back. Now it's Archie Hooper with the fastest lap. So Archie Hooper sets in a 118.3. That was 5 tenths faster, and the gap's now 1.3 seconds. So Archie Hooper suddenly is closing very, very fast. But Lewis, only 2 laps to go.
Yes, certainly, and the gap is coming down every single lap. Archie Hooper is looking absolutely on it. You can see Taylor Thompson getting past some lap traffic now, trying not to lose too much time. It's pretty close there actually to the back marker, but Taylor Tomlinson, he's looking confident, but he needs to start pushing soon because the gap is coming down, but the laps are also coming down. 2 laps to go in this race, so if Archie Hooper wants to do something, Archie Hooper goes down. Archie Hooper falls to the deck. Second place man. It does not look like he'll be getting that race when he almost crashes again coming off the grass. He's just trying to push. The rear wheel spun up on the grass, but he carries on now, and he's just trying to get round. So that's Annabelle McCarthy, I think, your picture there, just coming round, toddling around, just trying to stay on the bike. But actually, Max Johnson has made it up to 5th place. Keep in mind, he started 14th position for this race, so great run from him, and great start, and he's stayed on the bike so far. So that's all you really want to do in these conditions as we head on to the last lap of the race. And there is the race leader, there is Taylor Tomlinson, and now the gap after the crash from Archie Hooper is now very, very significant. It's now 12.6 seconds. So now Taylor Tomlinson needs to stay on the bike, and that is it. But I don't know if he will know that there's been a crash behind him, so he may still be pushing like Archie Hooper's on his tail, because in these conditions you're racing with people that you haven't raced with before, because usually you're at different parts of the field in the dry, but wet is the main equaliser in racing. There's Daisy Polden, she had quite a few falls, but she's kept racing, and she's going to finish this race as this is the last lap of race 2 of the AC40 Rookies. Taylor Tomlinson goes on. He has a couple more corners to make it around. He's making around a couple of back markers. You can just see the difference in confidence that they have in these conditions. And Taylor Tomlinson is keeping this cool, keeping this calm, hitting his braking markers, and he hits his braking marker now to tip in to the left-hander before the right, past the pit exit, with just 1 corner to go after this on the final lap of the race after a fantastic victory, a fall at the start of the race, and now a dominant victory from Taylor Thompson. Takes the checker flag and wins the race from Archie Hooper. Should come home in 2nd place. So Taylor Tomlinson takes the race win. Sebastian Gieslowski, his championship rival, who coming into this round, it was a 6 to 8 point gap. Sebastian Gieslowski down in 8th position now. So Taylor Tomlinson celebrating, standing up on the motorcycle. Archie Hooper coming back 16 seconds behind him, and Preston Baker, after a fall himself, after a convincing start, is down in 3rd place and takes checker flag now and comes home. This race was all about just getting home in one piece.
Absolutely, and Taylor Tomlinson wasn't able to do that. Obviously that fall on lap 1 but still managed to come back through, doing what Taylor Tomlinson does, and takes a victory. Archie Hooper as well, an impressive second base. Preston Baker managed to hold on to P3 as well with Seth Hayward. He finished in P4. Max Johnson got up to P5 in the end, and actually still hasn't quite finished, so there's still a few riders yet to bring it across the line, but he does now, so we'll get the official results to you as soon as we can. But Max Johnson P5, and then the next 3 riders, I'll just wait for a moment because they're yet to cross the line as well, but they should be coming around now, so I can confirm for you as they just cross the start-finish line. As Taylor Tomlinson's doing another lap. He thinks it's not over yet, unless there's been a mistake and the checkered flag hasn't been waved, or no, he's just
like the race is over.
Yeah, the winner's done it. So Taylor Tomlinson, I think he missed the checkered flag, so he's just done himself an extra lap as well. So Taylor Tomlinson goes round once more, but it's Tomlinson from Hooper, from Baker, from Hayward, from Johnson, from Dunwoody, from Kozlowski in 7th, Kai Hawken in 8th, then it's Daisy Polden and Annabelle McCarthy in P10. So Taylor Tomlinson clearly didn't realise the race was over, despite the fact that he took a phenomenal victory. That's got to be the ride of his young career so far. Brilliant performance, and a well-deserved victory there with 16 seconds back to second place at the line. Just phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, it was a dominant victory. That race, it was so tricky. There was about 3 seasons in one. We had the sun slightly come out at the end there. We had complete and utter rainfall. It was terrible conditions midway through the race, and it slightly has lightened up now. You can see Taylor Tomlinson, he's done an extra lap. He's celebrated in style, a lap of honour, I guess you could say, because it's a 16-second win, and he stayed on the bike after such a great recovery after tipping off in what was a frantic start to the race. We had about 6 or 7 riders down in the space of a corner, and you could just see P1 up in the air. He's so delighted with that one, revving the bike. He's happy with that. When he comes down pit lane now, he'll give some high fives to the people watching, claps all around, delighted fans, delighted friends with him, and Samuel Munson and some other riders waiting down at the bottom to celebrate with him, congratulate him, say well done, because it's 77 of Taylor Tomlinson does it again.
Phenomenal stuff there from Taylor Tomlinson as he takes a brilliant victory. And just looking at my weather app, there is no more rain scheduled, but the weather app's of course been pretty unreliable today, but no more rain scheduled according to the weather app, so we'll have to wait and see. But we'll move on, and of course the rookies have got another race to come up later, so we'll just wait for them to maybe some more dry running, hopefully.
Next up will be race 2 of the Moto Team class. It is wet conditions here at Whilton Mill. They're going to have 10 laps that they're going to have to just try and survive around. It's going to be a race of survival. We've seen it previous today that it's all about just trying to stay on 2 wheels in these conditions. It's so treacherous whenever it starts raining here at Whilton Mill. Riders have been dreading it all day long, and now these Moto Team riders, most of them being older riders with a little bit more experience, so maybe they know what they're expecting here. They've raced maybe at this track before. In 2020, when we last came here, it was raining as well, so some of the riders may have already raced in these conditions, such as Jamie King in the Moto Team class, last year's champion. So there's some people with a bit more experience in this class, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens as they head out on their second lap.
Yep, absolutely. So a 10-lap race here for the Moto Team boys and girls. But it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with the difficult conditions. Of course, the sun is now out. No more rain coming. But, we'll have to see what's going to happen because the track is still wet, as you can see. So I'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Shane Norval, who finished in P2 yesterday, one of the Free Tech guys who came along and put on a good display. He turned up yesterday. Will Howarth, the race winner eventually, apparently was absolutely shocked by his pace. Shane's now gone home, so he's no longer here. Will Howarth's been spewing some rumours about his background. Apparently he might have been a big time rider. We're not entirely convinced in the commentary box. Well, apparently he's on the MotoGP website, so he may have actually been a MotoGP rider back in the day in the 500s. So there you go. Turns out Shane Norval, it's either an uncanny resemblance to the name, or Will Howarth has just beat a former 500 Grand Prix rider, which is, well, impressive for Will Howard, to say the least. Shane's gone home now, so we can't ask him. But, well, he put on an impressive race yesterday anyway. Of course, those two were in the two different categories of Moto Team, so they weren't actually fighting for anything realistically, just overall first place. But still, an impressive performance from Howard and Norval nonetheless. And, well, guess we've just had a MotoGP 500 rider been beaten by Will Howard.
Yeah, well, however, you can't be too disappointed with that if the only person that can match your pace is a MotoGP rider. So it's pretty impressive. And Shane is also, actually, I'm just having a look at his previous race, and he's also raced in the British Superbike paddock, actually, for the Appleyard team back in 2002. So he's had quite a lot of experience. It's great that riders that have had plenty of experience in racing come here at FAB, come here whenever they're at the slightly older age, and come here to these tricky tracks that we have here in the UK. There's plenty of tricky tracks, and Whilton Mill the Way is certainly one of them. So now the riders come round in what is actually a sunny Whilton Mill. The sun's came out, so maybe, just maybe, maybe we can just start calling it Sunny Mill instead of Slippy Mill.
Fingers crossed. Again, hopefully the weather looking to stay away for the rest of the day. But well, we'll have to wait and see, if you'll excuse me, what the plan is with the weather. But yeah, the sun is now definitely out and shining. Not just temperamental with the track conditions, but also temperamental with the weather in this part of the world. Of course, the Midlands, not exactly well renowned for its hot summer days, shall we say. But yeah, sun is now out. The hoods and coats are now off, and the crowd are now stopped sheltering in our commentary box. They've all rushed back outside now to watch the Moto Team action as we get ready to get underway in race 2 for the Moto Team. Been shortened to 10 laps due to a delay earlier on in the day. And as we now just get ready, the flag marshal Rob, one of our race directors here at FAB-Racing, of course the race directors do a fantastic job, holds the red flag up, just talking to somebody there. Looks like it may be Jason Pugh that he's having a word with. Just maybe a problem with the suspension on the bike. He's giving him a hand with something there, but here we go then. Red flag walks off the grid. It's time to go racing. It's time for Moto Team Race 2. It's lights out. We're underway. It's a great start from Jason Pugh in P2, but Will Howard, he manages to shoot away from the front. Jason Pugh follows suit in second. Alongside him as well, Ian Jackson on that 270 machine. He manages to hold on to P3. Everyone else jostling for position further back, but Will Howard shoots away at the front, of course. Remember back to Ella Park when he did 2 last to first challenges. Now he's not got competition from MotoGP level riders. I get the feeling he might be shooting off into the distance a little bit, but it's a great start from Will Howard. But Jason Pugh as well, what a getaway for him. You know, he was really quick away from the lights.
Yeah, well, Howard straight away by himself this time round, but Darren Anderson is already battling for that second position with Jason Pugh. So Darren Anderson, we've seen many times this season that he's been able to catch Will Howard, he's been able to pace Will Howard, and it's been the real battle of the Moto Team class and the real talking point. Darren Anderson, though, has missed a couple of rounds this year so far, so obviously he wasn't racing yesterday. He landed his bike, which was very, very kind of him. So now it's time for him to make up positions, make up places. In second place now as Jack Andrews has a battle further back and is right down the 333 on the Honda of Scott Jewett. Has crashed out of this race, so he's crashed out of this race so easy just to lose things like that. The practically consumables as Jamie King has the battle of Jack Andrews. We've been seeing this all season. Championship rivals battling it out as Jamie King comes round, and what is very, very tricky conditions. Jamie King running the number 1 plate, and he's trying to chase Phil Maplebeck as best as he can, just trying to keep up the pace. It's such high pace as Moto Team class. Come 2 classes, obviously, as we've mentioned previous. If you didn't join us yesterday, there's 2 classes in the Moto Team. There's a standard class and there's an open class in the Moto Team race, and it really throws up exciting racing, to be honest. You have 2 races going on at once, but we've seen yesterday, even though Will Howard and Shane Norval, and there's Will Howard actually with some kind of problem with his bike, maybe now, or maybe even a tip off, because it looks like he's got the bike going and he's just trying. They're shaking the head from Will Howard there, and it doesn't look like it's going to be good news for him now. He's just trying to get the bike back up to speed, trying to get in that power band. Looks like he's got the power band now, and now making up positions straight away. But now he knows Darren Anderson is up front. Darren Anderson is a fast rider. But the fastest lap of the race actually goes to Ian Jackson on the Suzuki, the 270 bike, following Darren Anderson by just 0.7 of a second. Now Will Howarth up into that third place past Jason Pugh now, so now he needs to make up that time to two very fast riders. So Darren Anderson leads the way, with Will Howarth making life very, very difficult for himself.
A rare, if it was a mistake, a rare mistake for Will Howarth, but a possible gearbox problem is what we're hearing. So mechanical issues on the bike potentially, as Darren Anderson then takes the lead of the race. As a result, of course, Will Howarth has been the absolute dominant force in Moto Team so far this year, and well, I think he expected to carry on with that one, of course, dominating the open class. There's only been 2 races where he did not take the win, and in both of those it was Darren Anderson, funnily enough, who did take the victory. Down in the standard class, there's not really been a lot of domination, so to speak, but it has been Jay King who leads the championship by a fair way from Jack Andrews at the moment. Darren Anderson is leading the way at the moment, and also leading the way in the open class. P2, Ian Jackson, standard class rider. He leads the standard class race. Will Howarth, of course, who's just lapped a second faster than anyone else that last time by. He is P3 and, of course, the championship leader in the open class. Jason Pugh is P4 or P3 in the open class, as Will Howarth now begins to catch the leaders and maybe shaking that gear problem aside, because, well, it would seem to me that there you go, the top 3, or the top 2 even, has become a top 3, as that's the 23 down in a potential incident with another rider. Elliot Newton taking a trip into the dirt, looks to see if the bike's okay, and Will Howarth is past Ian Jackson. So here we go, Ian Jackson falls behind Will Howarth. Now Will Howarth sets his eyes ahead on Darren Anderson, but of course yellow flags in this part of the track. He can't get past through here, but Will Howarth up to P2.
Yeah, Will Howarth now on the charge towards Darren Anderson, trying to get that time made up that he lost a couple laps ago, and he's doing that by setting the fastest lap of the race by 1 minute 2 seconds and 0.667. So it's so fast. It's about 2 seconds faster than Darren Anderson up front. So it shouldn't take too long. It should only take a lap, maybe 2 laps, for him to be right on the back of him. But now we are approaching some back markers. So once again, we've said many times today, it's going to be when you catch, and Will Howarth didn't get too held up there and is now completely on the charge. You can see the bike shaking about, protesting about. He's really getting hard on that power, and it's such small tyres on Will Howarth's bike. Of course, just being a 50cc 2-stroke, it's not got the biggest tyres in the world, and there is the 23 of Elliot Newton pushing the bike off the side track with the incident that was involving Philip Joyce as well in the 119. So now Darren Anderson comes round. He's just trying to keep Will Howarth down. Will Howarth loses the front and crashes out of this race, but now straight away kept the clutch in, I think, so it's still running. And it's the bike stops, so he's just trying to get the bike turned around, push it, trying to get bumped starting, get going again, a little kick off, and now Will Howarth is making life so difficult for himself. He just got up into second position. He's leading the championship. He doesn't need to do anything stupid as Jack Andrews gets past Jason Pugh there in the background of your shot. And there is Will Howarth. He's rejoined. He's trying to keep calm now. He's Jack Andrews down on the deck. That's not what you want whenever you're in a championship battle with Jay King. Jay King, you'll not know he's out. Jay King's currently in that third position now.
That's broke.
And it's completely broken the bottom fairing there. But he should be able to remount and get going again, because it is only a bit of fiberglass. He's just trying to get the bike restarted. Actually, it looks like chains off on the other side of the bike, so maybe the fairing is just ripped off the chain whenever he crashed there. But there's the race leader, Darren Anderson. He will not know all this chaos that has just happened behind him. The 1:33 fastest personal lap of the race so far, and this has shook up the race order. And now Jamie King is in that third place. His championship rival is in the dirt and is out of the race. With Jamie King, he doesn't need to be taking too much risks for the title.
Exactly. Of course, Darren Anderson, who currently leads overall and leads in the open class, the only other rider other than Will have to take a victory in the open class. That was back the last time he did that was back in round 2 in race 2, and he did take one of them in race round 1 as well. So it's been a bit of a while for Darren Anderson, and he's going to have 3 laps to go this time by. But well, I mean, what can you say about Will Howarth? He's dropped behind Jay King in the overall order, or did so at the line last time, as Sam Clowes obviously on the 133 yesterday. Reminder that Moto Team, it's all about the bike, not about the rider. It can be anybody and anyone on that motorcycle, but it is all about the bike, and the bike is the position in the championship that matters. I mean, Jay King, he's not really done it as much this year, but last year when he won the championship, he actually ran a few competitions through his Pit Bike Sonic YouTube channel. I'll go subscribe, it's quite nice to be appear on it occasionally, where he would, to his subscribers and members of the Paddock, he'd run a competition, and you could win a chance to go around on his Moto Team bike for a bit, and that's essentially how he won the championship. Just got other people to ride it for him, which is fair enough. But yeah, Will Howarth, I mean, that's, if the first incident, with the gears, if that was a mistake, unlucky, but it seemed it was the gears. The second one, it was definitely a mistake for Will Howarth. Ian Jackson currently in P2 on board that 270 machine. Jay King running P3 overall. Jay King, it's Ian Jackson actually leading the standard class. Jay King in second in the standard class, but Ian Jackson, he's a long way off of Jamie in the championship.
Scott Jewett.
Yeah, Scott Jewett, who's gone down there on 333. So problems further back in the field as well. Just drama here. The wet causing chaos once again at Whilton Mill.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Darren Anderson leads the way by 14.4 seconds over Ian Jackson on the 278 Blue Suzuki. And he's quite a distance back, but Ian Jackson, he's kept his cool this race. He's not made too many mistakes, which is easier said than done in these conditions. The sun is out now though, so the track will be starting to dry. They're still on these wet tyres, but they don't have enough power on these motorcycles to actually start shredding up the wet tyres, destroying them, so they should be okay. But Darren Anderson leads the way now. 2 laps to go. It's been a commanding race victory. Keep in mind, he started 7th position for this race. He was so strong, and now he's leading the way as now we head on to the last lap. The last lap flag is out, and you can see now last lap Marshall waving it in the air. He will see it. He'll just try to keep calm in this last lap. I don't know if he will know yet just how much of a lead he has. He may have a little look behind him, see that nobody is there, and nobody is there for a long time, but there's a back marker that he's approaching, as that's Alistair Kennard that he's approaching right now, the number 5 on quite a strange looking bike, to be honest, quite a large bike on these kart circuits. As now Darren Anderson's just trying to find any way past, just trying to get around safely. That's the main thing now on this last lap, with nobody behind you, as Ian Jackson and Jamie King is quite a distance back, and Jamie King obviously being in a completely different championship as him. So Jamie King, great ride from him up and down season, as now Darren Anderson on this final half of a lap has a couple corners left to go. It's been a dominant performance from him. 17.5 seconds at the line last time round, as now he has 1 more corner to make it round before the checker flag will wave for race 2 of the Moto Team. Race win for Darren Anderson as he crosses the line. Points number 1 to the sky. He is delighted with that one. The 1-3-3 race winner once again. Missed a couple rounds this year, so he's not really in contention too much for the championship over Will Howarth, who's currently in 4th place. Can he make up any positions to the line as we wait for Ian Jackson to cross the line on the Suzuki, as he does now, 20 seconds at the line, and Will Howarth gets into that final podium position past Jamie King, and dropping Jamie King to that 4th place, with Jason Pugh coming home in 5th. But a lot of drama in that race. Will Howarth not making life easy for himself with that fall, and still managing to make a podium out of it.
Yeah, great ride there from Darren Anderson, just keeping it nice and calm, nice and mature when others fell he stayed on and took the victory. He takes the victory overall, with Ian Jackson taking the victory in the standard class, finishing P2 overall, followed by Will Howarth in P3 with Jay King in P4. There's Jason Pugh, P5, Malcolm Stein, P6, Jamie Diss in 7th, Jack Van Eden in P8, Alistair Kinnaird in P9, and Philip Joyce rounding out that top 10. That will be it then for race 2 of the Moto Team, and the sun is now well and truly shining. But of course, don't be afraid if you're a fan of the Moto Team. They are coming back out later for some more cheap and cheerful racing. That's not me being abuseful towards them. It's the fact is this is the cheapest racing you can get here in the paddock at FAB-Racing. Of course, designed to enable you to go cheap racing for very, very low cost. And of course, if you fancy giving it a go, do not be afraid to head over to the FAB-Racing Facebook or the FAB-Racing website to find out more there how you can go racing for very, very low cost. And of course, if you're just joining us, hello and welcome. You join us to a now sunny, previously rainy Whilton Mill for round 5 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. My name is Ross McIntyre, and alongside me, Lewis Ray. And well, that was a very enjoyable race, and we've got more to come later.
Next up, clouds are in the sky, and it is time for race 2 of the LC40 Elites. And although the sun is out, there's still quite a lot of wildlife around the circuit. Sheep are out, and they're out in force, watching the excellent racing that we have to offer here at FAB-Racing, and enjoying the racing, I am sure. And we're going to enjoy this next race, the LC40 Elites. It's going to be a cracker. Yesterday, it was a close battle for the top 3, actually, with Austin Johnson taking the race win over Finlay Paul Hill, with Byron Johnson just 2 tenths further behind in 3rd place. So it was a great battle all the way through. Harrison Day a bit off the pace, but Harrison Day has had experience in these conditions so far today, and now it is time as they head out on their cycling lap.
Absolutely, so there you go, the LC40 Elites, the top category for the junior mini moto riders before they make that jump onto the Grand Prix style machinery. And well, as you mentioned, a big battle for the win yesterday, with Austin Johnson eventually getting the better of Finlay Paul Hill Finlay on his return to FAB-Racing following a comeback from a broken arm. He has done a mega job all weekend in multiple categories, and looks set to take a fairy tale victory. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be, with conditions tricky out there though. It is no longer raining, but the track is still wet. And very much so in some places, and well, damp at its best in others, so potentially playing into the hands. And well, we saw in some of the other mini moto races earlier, these things not a particularly big fan of water around this place. Slippery Mill, as it's become to be known across the Isles. It's a bit of an ice rink, shall we say, when the rain comes down. And well, we can see over there, not far beyond the circuit, the rain is coming down, and although the rain is scheduled to stay away for the rest of the day, according to my trusty phone, well, who knows? It wasn't scheduled to come down earlier when it did, so frankly at this point it's anybody's guess as to what the weather is doing. I think it'll be more carnage perhaps in the races where you can have wet weather and dry weather bikes, so we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen there. But as we get ready for the formation lap here, the LC40 Elites, we just got to sit and wait and well, pray and see what the clouds do.
Yeah, we certainly do. Austin Johnson will start in pole position with Finlay Paul Hill alongside him. Brother Byron will start in 3rd place with Sam Gardner alongside, getting a DNF yesterday, and will be hoping to get points on the board today. Harrison Day lines up 5th with Chloe Gleason, one of our female riders here at FAB, in 6th. Matthew Thomas on that bright lime green Minimoto will be starting 7th position with Rex Austin 8th. Jensen Bishop will start in 9th with Oliver Hull, last year's rookie champion, will be starting 10th position. Liam Lindquist, a Swedish rider who has had quite an up and down day so far and should be staying for race 3s actually today, and will be starting 11th with Dylan Tureen starting 12th, George Ackerman 13th, Bethany Ashby 14th, and Callum Maxwell rounds out our grid for the LC40 Elites.
Yep, so a rampack grid of some liquid-cooled, some air-cooled bikes. Of course, the LC40 grid expanded to allow air-cooled bikes in to save some cost-cutting measures. So a bit of a bigger grid. Some of the riders on slower air-cooled bikes. You'll be seeing that from Byron Johnson in the corners. He is arguably the best out there in the field, but then you get onto the straights and he's left in the dust by those on the liquid-cooled bikes. So we'll have to wait and see what that brews. Of course, the track wet, rain potentially on the horizon, as you can see there. And, well, we wait now for the start of the race. The riders coming to the end of their formation. Actually, it's raining. It's raining. I've just looked out my window. It has just started to rain, and it's raining not hard, but it's definitely coming down. Here we go then. So we weren't sure if it was going to start raining. It just has. And do you know what else is about to start? Race 2 of the LC40 Elites. The last words of preparation for the young riders. The flag marshal gets ready to send them on their way. This could be chaos, as we've seen in the other mini moto races. As we look to the red lights, they come on now, and then they go out, and we are underway for race 2 of the LC40 Elites. And it seems to be a very good start from Sam Gardner. He jumps in front of Austin Johnson there. But here we go. Now you'll see the power of the liquid cooled. It's not sure that she's on the outside. No. It seems that Sam Gardner was able to hold station for the time being. And yes, on the way to Christmas corner, Sam Gardner goes down from the lead of the race. Unbelievable there. So potentially drama. Apologies, it was Finlay Polehill who's gone down, not Sam Gardner. A bit of a moment there on the timing screen, but it's Finlay Polehill who got a great start and then has gone down from the start, and you can see the rain lashing down there at the back end of the circuit. It is coming down hard, and well, Lewis, we've already seen on lap 1 that could potentially cause some drama.
Yeah, it certainly can, and the rain's starting to pour now. They just need to keep up on 2 wheels. This is lap 1 of race 2. This is the first time that some of these riders, such as Austin Johnson, have been out in these wet conditions, so they really have to get their mind into gear. Well, the riders that have raced in the pros so far today, they have a slight upper hand. Although they have the slower bike in a straight line, they have the track knowledge, they have the track experience of what it's like to race in these conditions. It's one thing going out on a wet warm-up session than what it is actually racing and having to follow bikes in the spray. But Austin Johnson leads the way now over his brother Byron Johnson. Sam Gardner sits in 3rd place right now. There's been a crash on the main straight there, going on to the main straight. The number 94 of George Ackerman having a fall there. Also racing in the pro classes, Liam Lindquist goes down the inside, and the Johnson brothers lead the way. It's not a surprising sight really, as Matthew Thomas now is on the tail of Sam Gardner. You can just see Matthew Thomas, he's looking so racy, he's trying to find any way past, but he cannot make it work. Sam Gardner is defending so great right now. Sam Gardner on the brakes, having to defend, not wanting to get too close to the white lines, but it sounds like Austin Johnson will get a 3-second jump start penalty that will be added onto his time at the end of the race. So the only way that Austin Johnson can win this race is by beating whoever is behind him, currently his brother, by over 3 seconds. So he's going to have to push, and he's going to have to push hard as he comes around the final corner now. We'll see what the gap's going to be, and we're going to have to keep an eye and add 3 seconds onto his time. So currently Austin Johnson leads the way with the fastest lap of the race by 2.8 seconds. So he needs to lead by another 2 attempts to be able to win this.
Yeah, very tight. Poland goes down. Notice Beth Ashby has gone down rather. A bit of a tumble, needs to get the bike started again. It's treacherous conditions, although the rain seemingly coming to an end as quickly as it started. It's caused some drama, got the track nice and wet once again. So it's tough out there. And I mean, there are some dry lines forming. You can see there are the occasional dry patches here and there, but it's still soaking in some of the corners, especially some of the corners with a lot of camber. As we're seeing your race leader Austin Johnson there already. I think that's Byron Johnson, apologies, with Sam Gardner and Matthew Thomas behind him. So Byron in this battle for 2nd place. You said earlier Matthew Thomas was looking racy. I mean, he's looked racy all day. Yesterday, it was a pretty good day for Matthew Thomas, but he's really come out of the blocks today and really, had a great result in the race to go. And it's we've been told in our ear that it's properly raining at the other end of the circuit, because outside our commentary box window it's not raining too heavily, but as you can see on your screen on the other end of the track, it is absolutely coming down in steroids. My goodness me, this could blow the entire thing wide open.
Yeah, it certainly can. It just shows how changeable the conditions are here. One side of the track, it's not raining, the other side it is, and now the rain's just starting to pour down the other side of the circuit as Austin Johnson and Byron Johnson are just trying to make it through. Byron having a little moment there, coming out of the curb and running wide actually. Maybe this might make Matthew Thomas taste some blood. He can taste the fact that he can get the second place off Byron Johnson, but it's Austin Johnson who still leads the way by 4.2 seconds. Keep in mind he needs to win by over 3 to be able to win this after his jump start. So Austin Johnson, he's looking strong but cannot afford to make one mistake, as his brother now has to defend from Matthew Thomas's Sam Gardner's drop back slightly. But Liam Lindquist actually is the fastest rider on track with a 107.3. He's about 2 seconds faster than the front runners, but there's Sam Gardner and Liam Lindquist down on the deck. So Liam Lindquist with the fastest lap has just fallen, so it doesn't look like he's going to be able to fight for this race win. He's going to have to make up all this time that he's just lost. So he's managed to get on the bike now and got the bike restarted to try and remount, but there's Byron Johnson. I'm a little look behind him, seeing that Matthew Thomas is still there with just 5 laps to go in this race. Matthew Thomas is looking to attack.
He is indeed. Liam Lindquist, of course, the Swedish rider who's been doing a great job so far this weekend. Unfortunately, just coming together there with Sam Gardner, but up ahead, as you said, Matthew Thomas. Now looking at Byron Johnson, Austin Johnson further up ahead as well. The heavy rain has seemingly stopped, so it's stop-start weather out the window. We've got no idea what's going to come next. But what is going to come is a mega battle between Thomas and Johnson here. Of course, Byron Johnson on that air-cooled bike, Matthew Thomas on that as well. Byron Johnson physically slightly larger than Matthew Thomas. He's a bit older, a bit bigger, so he's got that extra weight that he needs to carry around with him as a result of just being a few years older than his contemporary. So it's going to be perhaps a bit of a tougher ordeal, but along with that age comes experience and time on the bike, and we know that Byron is a brilliant talent and is super fast out there, and always does a fantastic job, and was even challenging for the win yesterday against the liquid cooled brother that his brother against the liquid cooled bike that his brother Austin rides. And look at that, it's soaking up the top end of the circuit, isn't it? Just super wet. And Byron Johnson, well, again running slightly wide, and Matthew Thomas having a look to the outside at Inkermans. That'd be a very brave move. Decides against it, but yeah, that'd be spectacular if he pulled that off. But I think there's only so much that the laws of physics allow you to do, unfortunately, no matter how talented you may be, and especially when it's raining, especially with the wet. It is a bit more tricky to pull off some standing overtakes, but it's possible. We've seen it before. But Matthew Thomas decided against that one. I think quite smart. I think this stage, 4 laps to go, Matthew Thomas is clearly in this fight for second. I think the smart thing to do is just sit back, wait, be patient, and let the gap appear.
Yeah, he certainly is. As Austin Johnson leads up for by over 6 seconds now, just over 6 seconds, and Matthew Thomas lurks in that 3rd position. So Austin Johnson, he's not made any mistakes so far, but Byron is having to defend from Matthew Thomas as Rex Austin now pops into the top 10. Rex Austin having a great ride so far, and Liam Lindquist is trying to make up the positions after falling. And right now Sam Gardner actually up into 6th place after that fall involving Liam Lindquist. He's back on his bike, he's back up to 6th place, so straight back onto the pace as Byron Johnson now is really riding carefully, but he's having to still push because he doesn't want Matthew Thomas to get past him. You see I've seen it a couple times that he's having just to look to his left coming out of corners just to see if anyone else is there, because in these conditions people can show out of nowhere, because each lap, we've mentioned it before, rain changes, and the rain changes the way the track works, and conditions are changing each lap, which means your braking marker changes, your line can sometimes change. Your line that you were taking 2 laps ago is no longer the fastest line, so people can catch up so quickly, and Austin Johnson needs to be aware of that because he's 6.1 seconds ahead and cannot afford to make any silly mistakes. Bethany Ashby now is getting lapped by Matthew Thomas, and Matthew Thomas is trying not to get too held up with just 2 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the rain is just coming and going. It's almost like it's raining at some corners and not at others. Absolutely crazy stuff. Byron actually gained on his brother Austin that last lap by now 5.9 seconds of the gap, which means with the 3-second penalty added on for the jump start, it'll be a 2.9 second gap post-race. But yeah, I mean, the rain, we're getting reports it's heavier in some place. It's no longer raining in the pit lane, so no idea what's going on with the weather. It's just basically get to the corner and see if it's coming down on your visor or not at this point. There is your race leader, Austin Johnson, who's putting put in another great performance, as you said, and obviously he can't afford to make a mistake right now. But Austin Johnson rarely makes mistakes. Super experienced on these mini motos, super fast on these mini motos, and currently absolutely dominating this LC40 Elite Championship. Heading into the boot now, who have 1 lap to go this time by, and well, as he just pushes himself out of the corner. Dry patches, wet patches, absolutely everywhere. The grip's going to be changing with every single metre of track that you go across. There's the last lap signal for Austin Johnson, but it's just absolutely crazy stuff out there. No one knows what the weather conditions are. Everyone's done a great job, to stay in this race, stay on the bike. And it's Austin Johnson who looks set to take yet another victory this year in the LC40 Elites. Just looking out the commentary box window, it's no longer raining in the pit lane. We're not having any reports of rain anywhere else in circuit, but it was about 2 minutes ago, so who knows what's going on with the weather. It is coming and going at its own pace, at its own leisure, and someone else who's been going at their own pace is this boy, Austin Johnson. It has been a relatively quiet race for the boy, even with that penalty, but it's been an utterly dominant one nonetheless, and we're used to seeing these now from Austin Johnson, aren't we? He's coming around now into the second sector, and even with a jump start penalty, he's still going to win from his brother by over 3 seconds. Coming into the final section now for the last time. The rain coming down hard now, but it doesn't matter. It's too little, too late for Austin Johnson, who is set to take another victory in the LC40 Elite with a very mature ride. And where is Byron? Where is Byron Johnson? There is Byron Johnson. So even with a big jump start penalty, it will be no different result. Austin Johnson is a winner yet again in the LC40 category. Byron Johnson on that air-cooled bike brings it home in second, and Matthew Thomas with a great performance to bring it home in third there. But Austin Johnson, as the rain starts to hammer down outside, the hardest we've seen it all day, Austin Johnson, he's escaped the weather and he's escaped the penalty time as well.
Yeah, he certainly has. The rain is probably falling now. We've got the best of it, I would say, for that race. If they were racing now, it would be absolute carnage. But dominant performance from Austin Johnson, 8.5 at the line, and even with that 3 second penalty, that's still over a 5 second race win, which in its own right is so respectable. Actually, it's a bigger race win than what he had yesterday, and he had a jump start penalty, which is just insane. You can see now how hard the rain is pouring down. It is bouncing off the ground now, so it's definitely not what you want to be racing in. And we have just a couple more races coming up before lunch break, and these conditions are not deterring celebrating with your friends and celebrating as fans. Although they race themselves, they're fans of the sport, they're fans and they're friends of these riders, and just coming across the line is an achievement in these conditions. It's so wet.
Well then, with the rain, well, it was lashing down a minute ago, it seems to have just magically stopped. It's time to get going for race 2 for the mini F1 sidecars. And well, Mick Williams, that number 26, not on pole position for the first time in a long time, and in conditions that they typically do not favour either. The rain it's stop-start, it's hard, and then it's gone instantly. A few marshals looking pretty miserable out there. Of course, thank you to all of them. They're doing a fantastic job this weekend. But yeah, they're not looking the happiest, especially the ones who I'm seeing are in shorts. That was the wrong decision, mate, wasn't it? But yeah, out to the grid come the Mini F1 sidecars for their second race. And well, we saw at Clay that rain shook up the order a bit, Lewis. And it may not be raining right now. It may well be in about 30 seconds, who knows? And the track, it is safe to say, is absolutely soaking.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we've seen it, Clay Pigeon. It changed absolutely everything with the race. It prone up everything into the order, and now the past couple of rounds has been very, very spicy in the sidecar paddock. There's been action on and off the track, and it's been a real talking point between Mick Williams, Green Streets and the Keats, and it's been one that we just have to wait and see and find out what's going to happen every single race, because every single race there's something new into the action. And sidecars, well, sidecars, there's been crashes, there's been drama, there's been red flags. Mick Williams' win streak has finished, And well, actually, it's going to be.
It's got back underway now.
Yeah, it's going to be Mick Williams though, who doesn't start in pole position, and we know in these conditions they do not like these conditions at all. We've seen it before that in the mini F1 sidecars in the wet conditions. They cannot get the sidecar hooked up, so it's going to be Green Streets who starts in pole position alongside Mick Williams. Mick Lee on the number 44 had some issues with a coolant leak yesterday. Starts in third position with John Hosker fourth with that fairing that they picked out of the bin. Jacob Keats in fifth with Mark Parker alongside him. Chris Impey seventh with Iona Glover. Should be starting in eighth if they make start, with Vince Bailey rounding out the 9 sidecar grid here that we have here at Whilton Mill. Not the biggest sidecar grid, but it is definitely improving as rounds go on. The great racing that we've seen here this year from the sidecars is attracting more and more outfits and more riders to think, I want to have a go at that, I want to be a part of this, because they watch the racing and they just see how great it is. And there is Mick Williams on the front row of the grid, waiting to line up and waiting for this race to get underway, and hoping that they can find more pace in wet conditions as we wait to see what will happen this time around for the mini F1 sidecars. The lights now are waiting to go on, and the red lights should come on in a second down. That's them on and that's them off. Very quick start, and the Green Streets have leaped away, and now the Keats almost bouncing off the start. Actually looks like on the camouflage red and black bike, and now we wait to see what's going to happen. So the Green Streets lead the way from Mick Williams. Is there's the John Hosker actually off the 127, painted that fair and yellow now, but they've spun. But now they're back in the race, and now Green Streets lead the way, and now it looks like actually it's going to be Mick Williams straight away in the attack, and the red build number 26 is now Green Streets have slid off. The Green Streets are in the grass, and now we're waiting to safely rejoin this race. But now they're second last in the field. They're down to 7th place after one corner, which has let these guys here, Mick Williams, lead the way. So now what can Mick Lee do? What can Hosker do? What can the Keats do right here? Can they catch up? Can they pass Mick Williams? Will the rain fall? We're just going to have to wait and see with just 7 laps in this race.
Yeah, we'll absolutely have to wait and see. I mean, to put it into perspective, the weather definitely coming in, because normally by this point Mick Williams is about half a lap ahead of everyone else on that number 26 machine. So dominant. Oh, and getting very sideways on the wet stuff, running slightly wide and just dipping the sidecar wheel. And oh, look at that, the 369, the Bailey machine, getting all sorts of out of shape. Just applying the throttle here in this sidecar race is a risk. The 44, seemingly the main challenger to the 26 outfit in this race. 6 to go at the line. That's on mine. The 44 having a look to the outside, coming to Christmas corner, but no, gap isn't there this time by. But again, to put it into perspective, Mick Williams is usually half a lap ahead by the end of the opening tour of the circuit. This time by at the line, it was 0.3 of a second, and Mick Lee set the fastest lap of the race as well. So further back as well, actually the Green Streets trying to fight their way back through. They're currently running last, actually, so it's been more drama then for the Green Streets, but it's Williams versus Lay. It's the 26 against the 44, and I'll tell you what, looking at it, the 44 looks to be the faster machine right now, but of course it's one thing to catch a sidecar, it's another thing to overtake. Mick Williams didn't have the best of time through the boot last time, again running wide. Ooh, almost getting out of shape again. You're just going in a little bit too fast, almost a little bit too deep, having to haul the bike, and look at that, the plate scraping along the ground, and that's given the 44 machine a huge run down the front straight. Just the best chance that they're going to get, I think, for the time being. But Williams just holding on to that lead, but it's very close between the top two. The 44 here has a real chance.
Yeah, they started doing Mick Lee now looking around the outside, but he cannot make it work. You can just see though, Mick Williams are on a 2-stroke motor, which coming out the corners, as soon as they get a tiny bit of angle coming out the corner, getting that power band, the rear's just spinning up and they're getting no power to the ground, which is just letting Mick Lee on that 4-stroke motor, which actually looks like they lost a bit of time there coming out of the corner. But Mick Lee coming out of the corner, they have a far better drive because it's far more consistent and far better power output. It's not as torquey, high revs. While McWilliams needs to keep it them high revs and needs to keep it up, which just spins the wheel in these conditions. As the Green Streets are now making moves, the Green Streets just got past Vince Bailey and Chris Impey for 5th position now. So up into 5th place, the Green Streets having some kind of transponder issue, it seems, but they're out there. They're still going round. There's Vince Bailey actually with an issue on that 369 outfit, so they're having to get that thing turned around, get that thing restarted, and now carry on with the race. It's just 4 laps to go in this race. Across the line last time round for the lead, 0.2 of a second between Mick Williams and Mick Lee. The two Micks are up front. The two Micks are leading the way. 4 laps to go. We wait and see what is going to happen with this race. And there they are, the 44 still behind Mick Williams. They're doing a great job at defending. As the sun is out now, track is starting to dry. Will this help Mick Williams? It seems like it will. But the question is, will it dry out enough to help their two-stroke motor?
Bit of a slide.
As you can see now just how out of shape they're getting now, just how hard they're having to push as McLean. This is the first time we've seen them this year at FAB-Racing. First time we've seen their outfit. And now it's straight away on the pace, putting the other Mick under pressure, and it's great. It's great to see.
It is indeed. I mean, Mick Williams, he's got the choice. He either gets in the power band of that two-stroke engine and just spins the tyres and the wet stuff, or he gets out of the power band and just bogs down. As we've got a sidecar off into the rumble strips in the background, and this is where he's struggling the most, coming through the boot section. Whoa, that was a big bang from something in the commentary box, but as we carry on, and running a bit wide, the 44 there. Williams looks like he's got away with 3 laps left to go. This time by at the line of Williams. Luckily they're pulling a bit of a gap, but it's not over yet because the Lee machine is going to close right back up again. It's either spin the wheels with the two-stroke or you just bog down. If you're not on the power band, you're not going anywhere, and as they go through some lap traffic, it's the 44 looking to the outside, but it can't hang it round Christmas corner this time. But they are there, they are attacking, and down the straights they've got the pace up that big stretch from the second right all the way up to Christmas corner. They are looking ridiculously fast, a little bit wide there from Williams and the 26. There's 3 laps to go. It's not all over yet for the 44, but again, it's not all over yet for the 26 either. If they kind of get in the zone now, they can start to break away late on.
Yes, certainly, and John Hoscratch was Sidecar went off in the rumble strips, and now they're going pretty slowly in last position right now, and now just trying to make up the time. You've seen them getting lapped there by Mick Williams and Mick Lee, just getting out of the way and not wanting to get involved in this battle for the race. And there is Mick Lee actually, and it looks like they're going pretty slow at the moment. Is that Mick Lee? It's a yellow Sidecar anyway, and there's Green Streets actually, another spin from them on the number 90, and there's John Hosker with an issue. Mick Lee now coming past them, and the Keats closely following, so we're going to have to wait and see what the gap is going to be this time round.
Huge, yeah.
And yeah, the gap is huge, so Mick Lee has also had some kind of issue that time round, so big drama in the sidecars as the Keats now can see Mick Lee and can see that second place of just 2 laps to go in this race. It's Mick Williams who leads by 11.3 seconds now. It's let them loose, it's let them in the lead as the track's starting to dry out as the sun comes out here at Whilton Mill.
Yeah, but of course it's caught the 44 out. It can definitely catch the 26 out as well, with the sun now beaming down as it was about half an hour ago before it started to rain again. The weather is so unpredictable today. Nobody knows what is going on, and that's like the 66 actually dipping a wheel off the track there, taking track limits and maybe bending that definition just a little bit. But the 44 just unfortunately getting caught up with the 666. I'm sure they're going to try and bear down as best they can. They've only got 1.5 laps left to do it, unfortunately for them. If they had a bit longer, I'm sure they'd be all over the back of that 44 because they're so aggressive, so fast, and they love to put on a bit of a show, don't they? They love almost the people pleasers of the sidecar paddock, because as the last lap starts for the 26, they just love to put on display. They're always on 2 wheels, always showing off, and they're just super aggressive riding style. It is such a joy to watch, and I tell you who else is such a joy to watch as well. Mick Williams, he's had a bit of a challenge today, and although the challenge ultimately span and fell away into the depths of second place, that 26 outfit, they've held firm up the front despite the challenges, and they've been put under all of the pressure. And this time at Whilton Mill, they've held firm, and it's been another brilliant performance from the 26. They've got half a lap to go to wrap up another win, and that'll make it 4 in a row, I want to say, I believe, off the top of my head. 4 in a row now as they restart their winning streak. The 2 years is the milestone to beat for straight victories. Let's see if they can go any further. But I mean, you know, that being said, we'd also love to see a challenge every single race that we've seen from Mick Lee here today as well. The 44 gave it a good go, but the 26 was too tough to tame today. They were just too much, and even in this section as they ran for the final time, the boot where they've seemingly struggled running wide, it has been just too quick. Once again, 1 corner to go for the 26, and once again, despite the challenges, it's Mick Williams who takes victory in race 2 of the Mini F1 sidecars. That was probably the hardest they've worked for a win in quite some time, because the 44, who will come home to finish in 2nd place, gave them a good old go. The Keats machine comes home, or should come home through. There it does. And here we go, Mark Parker and Chris Impey are going to be side by side to the line. Who's going to get it? It's just going to be the 230 machine, but the 457 was right there. Green Streets bring her home in P6 as well. It'll be Vince Bailey, Iona Glover and John Hoskell rounding out the field. But Mick Williams and the 26 machine, wow, they did have to work for that one, but it's another victory, and yet again proving they're the ones to beat in mini sidecars.
Yeah, Mick Williams, once again, they've won it. They've done what they do best, and that is winning races in the Mini F1 sidecars. And now across the line, it was 6.8 seconds. So that last lap, they took it very, very easy. They knew they had a race lead, and they knew they could just control this race victory. But for race 3 later on, of course, they do have another race coming up. Stay with us for that one. It's going to be race 3 of the sidecars. In it, they're going to have to push, because Mick Lee looked so strong. They made a mistake midway through the race, which dropped them back and gave Mick Williams the race win. So what's going to happen later on?
Well then, that will be it for the morning session. Time to head off for our lunch break, but of course don't be afraid. We've got the remaining race 2s yet to come, the Senior Mini Motos and the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 British Championship, and then all of our race 3s to look forward to as well. So we're going to take a quick break here in the commentary box, go and get some food, go and refuel, and hopefully it stays dry, because I don't fancy getting wet. I don't know about you, Lewis, but well, the weather's super unpredictable. Let's see what's going to happen. We'll be back shortly.